Chapter 1387. Immortal Ao Great World Bsu Fong stood majestically in the sky above a desolate mountain range. The immortal fiend monster, Dugumujian, and old monster Zhu Tian stood behind him. Dugumujian and old monster Zhu Tian had consumed a lot of energy in the previous battle. After more than 30 years, they had recovered to their peak condition. This was all thanks to the yin-yang immortal sky pellet, abundant resources, and spiritual items. The immortal fiend monster had recovered some of his physical strength with the help of the king-grade pill. Although it was less than 10%, his strength had reached the terrifying level of an 8-Dao Saint Immortal. However, his aura was strange, and it was difficult to sense his presence. He gave off an unfathomable feeling. When Dugumujian saw the coldness in Su Fang's eyes, he advised, "Su Fang, although your overall strength is invincible in this celestial realm, it's nothing in front of the Great Star Hall. Don't make an enemy out of them like last time." Dugumujian had dared to enter the devil world alone to save his wife. His courage was evident. However, he was so afraid of the Great Star Hall. One could imagine how powerful the Great Star Hall was. Lord Dugu is right. The Great Star Hall is not an ordinary chamber of commerce. It's a powerful force like the heavens mandate bright sect. If Master has left this celestial realm, he'll know how terrifying the Great Star Hall is. Don't get into a conflict with them. Old monster Zhu Tian said with a look of reverence. The Great Star Hall. It was a chamber of commerce with forces all over the celestial realms. It was known as the #1 chamber of commerce in the great world. Even the Heavens Mandate Bright Sect did not dare to offend the Great Star Hall. The Heavens Mandate Bright Sect's strength was on the surface, but the Great Star Hall was in the dark. No one knew how deep the Great Star Hall's foundation was. The Great Star Hall was rich and overbearing. Anyone who offended the Great Star Hall would be crushed to death with money and resources. Great Star Hall, kill. The immortal fiend monster's voice was filled with killing intent. The murderous aura of his second primordial spirit grew stronger. Whooshed, two figures broke through the air and appeared in his line of sight. Then, they flew over the sky. The two people from the Great Star Hall were from the Great Star Hall. One of them was a middle-aged man with a cold expression and an ethereal aura. He was a 5-Dao Saint Immortal Realm, Immortal Emperor. The other was an enchanting woman with a shrewd look on her charming face. She was only a world immortal. Emperor Su? The cold middle-aged man's sharp gaze sized up Su Fang. His eyes were filled with disdain, and his tone was filled with undisguised disdain. When he saw Dugumujian and the unfathomable immortal fiend monster, his expression turned grave. "I'm Madame Fanghua, the steward of the Great Star Hall in the Xianao Great World. Nice to meet you, Emperor Su." The enchanting woman's eyes revealed shrewdness as she bowed to Su Fang. "Where is Wang Yuzhen?" Su Fang asked faintly. "Su Di is really a straightforward person, and I will not beat around the bush." Madame Fanghua showed a seductive smile. Then he continued, "The Grand Star Hall spent a lot of effort to invite Miss Wang Yuzhen, who is in charge of the Chamber of Commerce under Emperor Su. If Emperor Su wants to hand her over to the Grand Star Hall, he must pay a price, right? The Great Star Hall wants nothing more than my yin-yang immortal sky Dan. I will give you the Dan recipe." Su Fang shot out a rune and floated into the hands of Madame Fanghua. Old monster Zhu Tian hurriedly said, "Master, you must not." How precious the yin-yang immortal sky Dan's Dan recipe was. Old monster Zhu Tian was a master of alchemy. The yin-yang immortal sky Dan was more important to the Great Star Hall. Imagine, with the power of the Great Star Hall, what kind of profits would they get if they sold the yin-yang immortal sky Dan to other immortal realms? This was also the reason why the Great Star Hall used some despicable means, regardless of the reputation of the Chamber of Commerce, to get the yin-yang immortal sky Dan in their hands. Seeing Su Fang did not hesitate to take out the yin-yang immortal sky Dan recipe and give away his money tree, How could old monster Zhu Tian not be anxious? If senior sister Wang Yuzhen were you, I would also exchange the Dan recipe without hesitation, Su Feng said lightly. Old monster Zhu Tian was moved. Dugumujian raised his eyebrows and looked at Su Feng again, looking very surprised. Madame Fanghua peeled off her consciousness and carefully checked the Dan recipe in the rune talisman, revealing a stunning smile. I heard that Miss Wang Yuzhen was Emperor Su's senior sister in the constellation of 9 heavens. Their relationship is extraordinary. Today, I see that the rumors are true. For her, Emperor Su did not hesitate to hand over such a precious Dan recipe. Su Feng said coldly, "Let her go." Madame Fanghua smiled and said, "Miss Wang is so important to Emperor Su. Of course, the Dan recipe of the Yin-Yang Immortal Sky Dan is not enough. The Great Star Hall also needs an alchemist who can refine the Yin-Yang Immortal Sky Dan." Su Feng said flatly, "Every one of my men, no matter their status or strength, will not be traded as goods equals N_R. The Great Star Hall has already got the Dan recipe. If you think it is not enough, you can put forward other conditions. Dan, Taoist tools, treasures, all are okay. But if you want to exchange my men for it, it is absolutely impossible. Great Star Hall, don't push your luck. It seems that we can't make a deal this time." Madame Fanghua showed a regretful look and threw the rune talisman to Su Feng. The grave and stern middle-aged man said in a cold voice, "It seems that Lord Su Emperor is going to watch Wang Yuzhen die before his eyes." Su Feng waved his hand and the rune talisman flew back to Madame Fanghua's hand. Then he said domineeringly, "Senior sister Wang will stay in the Great Star Hall for the time being. The Dan recipe of the Yin-Yang Immortal Sky Dan can be used as an amulet to buy her safety. If she is hurt in the slightest, I, Su Feng, swear that I will uproot the Great Star Hall from this immortal domain. Frog at the bottom of the well, even if you are really the master of this immortal domain, what are you in the eyes of the Great Star Hall? Even the Heavens Mandate Haotsang sect doesn't dare to have such a big tone. You dare to be so arrogant and threaten the Great Star Hall?" The middle-aged man sneered disdainfully. Su Feng said indifferently, "I, Su Feng, respect people who respect me. I will respect them 10 times. Whoever wants to stretch out his claws to me, I will not only break his claws, but also tear a piece of flesh from his body. If you don't believe me, you can try the Great Star Hall." The immortal devil monster's eyes burst out cold light and rolled around the middle-aged man and Madame Fanghua. Madame Fanghua's eyes flashed with fear. Even the middle-aged man of the 5 Tao Saint Immortal Realm had a layer of cold sweat on his back. The business is not successful, but the friendship is there. Emperor Su, why do you want to kill? The Great Star Hall is waiting for Emperor Su in Emperor Ning's mansion. The Dan recipe of the Yin-Yang Immortal Sky Dan will guarantee Miss Wang Yuzhen's safety for 10 years. After 10 years, if Emperor Su can't arrive in Emperor Ning's mansion, Miss Wang Yuzhen's safety can't be guaranteed. Madame Fanghua reluctantly smiled, and then flew in the direction of Emperor Ning's mansion with the middle-aged man. After flying 100 miles away, Madame Fanghua's bell-like laughter came. "By the way, tell Emperor Su, someone put a sky-high reward through the Great Star Hall to take your head. This trip to Emperor Ning's mansion is not so safe. Emperor Su, you must be careful." The middle-aged man suddenly shot out a rune, shuttled through the void, and suddenly appeared in the sky above Su Feng, and suddenly exploded, turning into a bloody light. "Be careful!" Dugu Mu Jian immediately burst out his sword intent, forming a layer of sword intent barrier around him. Who knew that the bloody light of the rune's explosion quickly condensed into a huge blood ball, releasing a strange bloody light, like a star hanging high in the sky, which could be seen thousands of miles away. Courting death, the immortal devil monster shouted coldly, separated his hands, and shot out the yin-yang immortal devil scissors, like a dragon opening its big mouth, and rushed out quickly. The middle-aged man was about to escape into the void with Madame Fanghua, but the yin-yang immortal devil scissors followed. The middle-aged man could not dodge, and one of his legs was cut off by the yin-yang immortal devil scissors. Ah! The middle-aged man screamed, and then crushed a rune, and burst out a xian guang wrapped around the two of them, and they disappeared into thin air. Looking at the gloomy bloody star in the sky, Su Fong raised his eyebrows. What the hell is that thing? It has no attack power, but it faintly has a feeling of being locked by it equals N_1. Old Monster Zhu Tian said with a sad face, "This is big trouble." Dugumu Jian said, "This thing is a special rune of the Great Star Hall. After detonation, it will form such a bloody star, called Bloody Star. Even Lord of Heaven Xian Shu, a peak immortal emperor powerhouse, could not destroy it. Even if you hide in the Zhenlong world, it will be difficult to get rid of the Bloody Star's detection. Facing the Bloody Star is the highest level bounty mission of the Great Star Hall. I don't know how many powerhouses will come to kill me, and I can't hide from them. I once heard that a famous immortal venerable powerhouse was hunted by countless powerhouses for more than 500,000 years through the Great Star Hall. In the end, he was exhausted to death." Old Monster Zhu Tian talked about the past with a frightened look. Dugumu Jian advised, "It seems that the Great Star Hall sent people here to make a deal, and the real deal is to release the Bloody Star rune. Prince Ning's mansion has already colluded with the Great Star Hall, and they used Wang Yuzhen as bait to lure you to Prince Ning's mansion. Not only will there be powerhouses along the way, but there will also be traps in Prince Ning's mansion. Su Fang, it's better to avoid it this time." Facing the Bloody Star? Avoid it? Looking at the Bloody Star above his head, Su Fang smiled disdainfully. He could easily get rid of it with the life-shrinking art, and even cut off the detection of the Bloody Star. He could also activate the treasure mirror to destroy it directly. However, Su Fang didn't plan to do so. Cultivators should have a fearless heart. They should surmount all difficulties and obstacles and overcome all obstacles. Only in this way would they be able to surpass them again and walk towards the peak. Bloody Star? It just so happened that he could use it as a form of experience, and he could use the various monsters that had been attracted by the huge bounty as a whetstone to temper his heart of cultivators and improve his strength. Great Star Hall, Prince Ning's mansion. Su Fang's eyes were as cold as ice. "When I go to Prince Ning's mansion, I'll kill anyone who stands in my way. I'll kill one person with each step until I reach Prince Ning's mansion. Dugumu Jian, do you dare to accompany me on this trip?" Su Fang's voice was filled with a supreme domineering aura that looked down upon the world and lofty sentiments. Dugumu Jian felt ashamed. He was a peerless sword cultivator in the Six Paths Saint Immortal Realm, and he had the dual swords of destruction. How could he be afraid of a mere realm immortal? "Okay, I'll accompany you this time. I'll kill one person with each step until we reach Prince Ning's mansion." Dugumu Jian let out a long howl, feeling extremely pleased. Even old monster Zhu Tian was affected, and his blood boiled. However, Su Fang took him into the alchemy dojo in the True Dragon Realm. Old monster Zhu Tian was a treasure, and he couldn't be hurt. It was better for him to stay in the alchemy dojo and refine pills. "Su Fang, you and I are one, and I also need to train. How can I miss out on this trip to Prince Ning's mansion?" Fairy Xuanxin's nascent soul voice suddenly came from the True Dragon Realm, and it was filled with the heroic spirit of a man. "That's right." He let out Xuanxin and walked side by side with her. The immortal fiend monster and Dugumu Jian followed closely behind and flew toward Prince Ning's mansion. The scarlet killing star above Su Fang's head was like a shadow, moving together with him. The faint scarlet light and dense killing chi looked very strange. =_our download address. Mobile reading, Bibliographic Review. Chapter 1388. The Sanguine Killing Star. The Great Star Hall's highest bounty had shaken the entire world. What was the Sanguine Killing Star? The sanguine killing star was the Great Star Hall's ultimate bounty mission. As long as the target was killed, the Great Star Hall would fulfill any request. For example, if the target fancied the woman of a celestial realm's ruler, the Great Star Hall would place the woman on the target's bed. If the target needed a Tao artifact from the 10 Great Tao artifacts, the Great Star Hall would give it to the target. If a Peak 9 Tao Saint Realm expert wanted to break through the shackles of the Saint's celestial realm and reach the celestial Venerate realm, the Great Star Hall would also fulfill the target's wish. Of course, these were just examples. It was impossible for the Hongxing Hall Chamber of Commerce to fulfill such unrealistic demands. When the target was accepted, the Great Star Hall would discuss the details of the bounty in advance. Both parties had to be satisfied. The Great Star Hall's Chamber of Commerce could be found all over the celestial realm. Almost every celestial city had a branch. Moreover, the Great Star Hall had a special means of communication. Once the bounty was announced, it would spread throughout the celestial realm. In the depths of the Great Qian celestial realm, in a mountain range filled with spirit qi, a towering peak that was tens of thousands of feet tall was planted in the ground like a huge sword. The peak was shrouded in celestial mist and filled with pavilions. The sanguine killing star? The target is the Su Fang? Su Fang, the villa master of the benevolent sword manor, has fallen into your hands and has been hiding for more than 30 years. Now that you've finally shown yourself, let's see where you can hide now. Summon all disciples at the world immortal realm and above to the celestial Ao great world. A furious roar came from a palace at the top of the mountain. In a desolate celestial city in a small celestial realm located at the edge of the celestial realm, an old beggar was basking in the sun and catching lice on the street. When he saw the scroll made of celestial inscriptions hanging in front of the Great Star Hall and the mission that had just been announced, his murky eyes lit up. The sanguine killing star. The Great Star Hall hasn't announced such a bounty mission for at least 1,000,000 years. I've been stuck in the 7 Tao Saint celestial realm for 5,000,000 years. I thought I wouldn't be able to break through in my life. I didn't expect such a chance when I'm about to fall star. The old beggar stood up lazily and suddenly disappeared into the void. Northern Immortal Region. In a desolate immortal world called the Barren Wasteland. On a towering mountain peak that pierced through the sky, numerous huge black eagles were circling around the peak of the mountain. Bloody killing star. Ha ha. This emperor has a chance to pass the tribulation successfully equals N_1. Few. A huge black figure soared into the sky from the top of the mountain with a vicious aura. It was actually a huge black hawk with a pair of claws that flickered with lightning. The black Xian Guang flickered, and the black hawk turned into a black-robed cultivator. He waved his hand toward the mountain, and tens of thousands of black hawks were sucked into his palm. Heavenly Law Immortal Realm. Emperor Su? Bloody Star? The Hongxing Hall really thought highly of Su Fang. They actually gave him an ultimate mission? Truly detestable. If it wasn't for my injuries not having recovered, how could I have missed such a good opportunity? Su Fang, I hope you can escape this calamity. Otherwise, who will I find to vent my monstrous hatred? It was Heavenly Monarch Xian Shu. For a time, not only the peerless immortal emperors who had been living in seclusion, but also some demon emperors who had existed for tens of thousands of years came out and headed straight for the immortal Ao Great World. Not only that, but the experts from the 8 forces who had been defeated by Su Fang were also attracted by the highest reward offered by the Hongxing Hall. Their greed was ignited once again. Moreover, this was due to the lack of time. Only celestial emperors whose strength had surpassed the 3 Tao Saint stage and possessed shocking divine abilities could travel through the celestial realms in a short time. Even if other cultivators wanted to, they could only watch helplessly. 3 months later, Su Fang, with the bloody killing star above his head, stepped into an empire under the influence of Emperor Ning's mansion. Countless cultivators followed him from afar. They were like a pack of cunning and greedy hyenas, ready to pounce on Su Fang at any time and tear a piece of flesh off his body. However, at this time, in the immortal Ao Great World and even in this immortal realm, Emperor Su was well known for his fighting prowess and ferocity. For a moment, no one dared to be the first one to stand out. Emperor Su is here. The evil Emperor Su, who has devoured the 3 empires of Emperor Ning's mansion, is here. As soon as Su Fang appeared above an immortal city, it immediately caused a panic. The cultivators of Emperor Ning's mansion hurried to shout as if they had seen a monster. Evil Emperor Su Fang smiled faintly. He ignored the cultivators of Emperor Ning's mansion in the city and flew directly to the Emperor's land. Suddenly a majestic voice came from the void. Su Fang, this bastard, killed your parents and destroyed your homes. Now he is invading Emperor Ning's mansion. Every citizen of Emperor Ning's mansion is responsible for protecting the land. You should rise up and kill him. It was Emperor Ning. Emperor Ning was in charge of Emperor Ning's mansion. His voice was like the will of the heavenly Tao. Immediately, all the people in the immortal city, not only the cultivators but also the common people, looked at Su Fang with hatred burning in their eyes. Whoosh! Whoosh! Cultivators of Emperor Ning's mansion rushed out from the immortal city crazily. The common people and immortals who couldn't fly in the sky all shouted together. Emperor Ning, don't you have any other means except for this despicable trick? Su Fang sneered disdainfully. He suddenly sped up to get rid of the cultivators of Emperor Ning's mansion. With his current strength, killing these people was as easy as killing chickens. But what was the point? Evil Emperor Su has escaped. He was forced to flee by us equals, N_1 exclamation point. When the cultivators and common people in the immortal city saw this, they thought Su Fang had fled. Suddenly they burst into cheers. Evil Emperor Su kills people like flies and treats human lives as ants. In the last war, he killed millions of cultivators of Emperor Ning's mansion. Why doesn't he dare to kill a group of common cultivators of Emperor Ning's mansion? The rumors must be true. Killing 1,000 enemies, losing 800 of your own men. In the previous battle, Emperor Su and his subordinates were all heavily injured. They don't have much strength left. I heard that after the last war, a hermit from Emperor Ning's mansion showed up and severely injured Emperor Su and his subordinates. He also lost more than half of his army. It seems that the rumor is true. If we don't kill him now, we won't have a chance to kill him when the supreme immortal emperors of the 8 macro worlds and some hermit masters come here. Wealth comes from danger. If we kill Emperor Su, we will not only get the highest reward from Grandstar Hall, but also all his treasures and resources will belong to us. Kill! Immortals were not much different from mortals. There were always some desperados who were blinded by greed. Driven by greed, they rushed toward Su Fang. Some cultivators who were hesitating couldn't hold back anymore and swarmed toward him. It finally begins. Su Fang raised the corner of his mouth, revealing a cold smile full of killing intent. More than 3,000 cultivators gathered together and rushed toward him like locusts. Poison talisman. When the 3,000 cultivators were 10 miles away from him, Su Fang suddenly struck out hundreds of poison talismans. Hong hong hong. The poison talismans exploded, overflowing a large amount of poisonous qi like dark clouds. Even immortal emperors above the 3 Dao realm were afraid of the highly toxic talisman created by Gue, let alone the 3,000 cultivators who were charging at them. The strongest among them was only a peak immortal emperor. Wherever the poisonous cloud passed, the cultivators would fall. Wails and wails resounded across the sky. Emperor Su is indeed seriously injured. He can't even use his divine ability. He can only attack with talismans. There will be a time when the talismans are exhausted. Let's attack together. Another 1,000 or so red-eyed cultivators charged at Su Fang like moths darting into a flame. They all had the same idea, which was to kill Su Fang with their numbers, so that they would have a chance to get the reward offered by the Grand Star Hall and the treasures on Su Fang. Men die for wealth, birds die for food. Su Fang shook his head helplessly and activated the ethereal primordial realm. At the same time, he unleashed a fire elemental divine aura, shrouding the 1,000 cultivators in his domain. Thousands of cultivators unleashed their chi at the same time. The power was no small matter. It shattered Su Fang's domain layer by layer. In an instant, they were less than 300 meters away from Su Fang. Su Fang activated a seal. Suddenly, flaming clouds of saber light appeared around him. Formless flaming cloud saber. He separated his hands and the flaming cloud saber light burst out, creating a large amount of dazzling flaming clouds. At this moment, Su Fang had cultivated the flaming cloud emperor physique. Moreover, the flaming cloud saber light was formed by the 9 suns' immortal fire. How powerful would it be? In a blink of an eye, the hundreds of cultivators in front were set ablaze and turned into ashes. A gray-robed cultivator suddenly took a step forward 300 meters and approached Su Fang with an unstoppable chi. He was actually a 3-Dao Saint immortal emperor expert. He was hiding among the cultivators, preparing to give Su Fang a fatal blow when he least expected it. Be careful, Dugu Mujian warned from behind. However, he had no intention of making a move. Fairy Xuanxin and the immortal demon monster also didn't make a move. Heaven Burning Eye. In an instant, Su Fang's eyes were burning with flaming clouds. 2 flames shot out and exploded on the immortal emperor expert's face. Soon after, the immortal emperor expert was burned into a sea of fire. This 3-Dao Saint immortal peerless expert originally thought that he could catch Su Fang by surprise. Who knew that he would be caught off guard by Su Fang's surprise attack? His aura was shattered by the domineering and terrifying 9 suns' immortal fire. His body was engulfed by the sea of fire. After a few screams, the immortal emperor expert's body was burned layer by the 9 suns' immortal fire. His golden core was grabbed by Su Fang. When the remaining cultivators saw this scene, the greed in their hearts was replaced by intense fear. They all turned around and fled. These greedy flies are the most despicable. Dugu Mujian activated a sword chi and swept it out. Like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves, hundreds of cultivators' bodies were shattered. No one was spared. For a moment, no one dared to step forward. Let's go. They continued to move towards Emperor Ning's mansion. This was just the beginning. Along the way, a massacre like this happened every day. Each time, it was fiercer and crueler than the last. Moreover, the more experts they encountered, the more they didn't attack Su Fang like headless flies like the first time. Instead, they were in an orderly and well-coordinated manner. Su Fang was like a boat moving against the current. It was difficult to move forward in the fierce wind and waves. It could be smashed into pieces by the huge waves at any time. However, the boat flipped over the peaks of the waves and moved forward firmly without any hesitation, killing 1 person with each step. About a year later, Su Fang crossed an empire and was 2 empires away from Emperor Ning's mansion. It was 100,000 miles away. More than 1,000,000 cultivators blocked the way in the sky. They were densely packed and blocked the sun. There were more than 3,000 cultivators in front of them. The lowest cultivation level was at the mystic immortal realm. They all had the same aura, righteous and awe-inspiring. Su Fang, you're finally here. Give me back my manor lord. The leader of the group was an old man at the 5 Paths Saint immortal realm. He raised his sword-like eyebrows and let out a thunderous roar. It was like the roar of a god that shook the sky. Renjian Manor, a bright smile appeared on Su Fang's tired face. It was boring to kill along the way. Finally, something interesting happened. =_our download address. Mobile reading, bibliographic review. Chapter 1389. Renjian Manor. After several great battles of immortals and demons, the standard of the righteous path in the immortal realm was B. Although its overall strength was not as strong as some of the top forces and there were no top experts in the manor, the Renjian Manor's influence in the immortal realm was unparalleled. No forces or experts dared to offend the Renjian Manor, except for the evil path and the demon path. In the previous earth-shattering battle, dozens of immortal emperors and tens of millions of soldiers from Emperor Ning's mansion were defeated by Su Fang. The name of Emperor Su shocked everyone. In order to rescue perfected cultivator Lang Xiao, the Renjian Manor was able to gather more than 1 million cultivators, and their overall strength was much higher than the tens of millions of cultivators gathered by Emperor Ning's mansion. There were also some immortal emperors who did not appear in the previous battle. Such a force could sweep through any world of immortals. The leader of the righteous path had an amazing influence. Of course, Emperor Ning's mansion and the Chamber of Commerce of the Great Star Hall must have contributed to the gathering of so many experts. A large part of the reason was the ultimate reward offered by the Great Star Hall and the treasures and resources on Su Fang. Su Fang, why are you still not handing over the manor, Lord? The leading white-haired old man was an expert of the Renjian Manor, whose strength was second only to perfected cultivator Lang Xiao. When he saw Su Fang, his eyes were almost spitting fire. He roared again, and more than 3,000 disciples of the Renjian Manor shouted in unison. Over 1 million cultivators also roared, and their voices shook the sky. It was a terrifying sight. Su Fang is doomed this time. The reward offered by the Great Star Hall and the treasures and resources on Su Fang will not stand a chance. When they saw this scene, the countless cultivators following behind Su Fang, and there was no lack of true experts amongst them. All of them sighed with regret, and there were also some that regretted their hesitation earlier and not making a move against Su Fang earlier. You want me to release perfected cultivator Lang Xiao? I'll release him now. Whoosh, a blue-robed old man was released by Su Fang. The old man had a dignified face and a righteous aura, which made people respect him. He was the manor lord of the Renjian Manor, perfected cultivator Lang Xiao. Manor lord, you're still alive. You've suffered a lot. The white-haired old man of the Renjian Manor cried tears of joy when he saw perfected cultivator Lang Xiao. Hateful evil cultivators! How dare they imprison immortal Lang Xiao? They deserve to be killed. Look, Lord True Monarch is much thinner than before. Who knows how much inhumane torture he suffered, but Lord True Monarch is still full of righteousness, as expected of the ruler of the righteous path. What kind of person is the perfected Lord? Even if he was tortured by the evil cultivators, he would rather die than submit to the tyranny of the evil cultivators. Everyone's cultivators of the Manor Lord was praised perfected cultivator Lord S. Master. True Lord Lang Xiao coughed a few times. His old face was flushed red at first, but in an instant it was filled with righteousness. He spoke in a majestic voice that was filled with righteousness. Then he cupped his fists and said, "Thank you for your concern. I'm very grateful. Perfected cultivator Lang Xiao, don't worry. We'll save you from the evil Emperor Su even if we have to risk our lives. Su Fang, don't think that you can threaten us with perfected cultivator Lang Xiao. We'll destroy him together." Destroy him together? Who wants to destroy him together with you? Perfected cultivator Lang Xiao's face darkened. Then he shouted, "Shut up!" Everyone was stunned. The noisy scene fell into silence. Perfected cultivator Lang Xiao said loudly, "Everyone, please listen to me. Just like me, you've misunderstood Lord Emperor Su." The cultivators of the righteous path looked at each other, wondering if there was something wrong with their ears. Before this, I believed Emperor Ning's words and thought that Emperor Su was an evil cultivator who controlled the resurrected cultivators to devour the 3 empires in Emperor Ning's mansion. In order to eradicate the evil, I gathered the righteous cultivators of the immortal path to fight against him. Now I understand that everything was a trap set up by Emperor Ning. Perfected cultivator Lang Zhao's voice reverberated in the air, making everyone's head buzzing. Emperor Su captured me. At first, I thought I'd rather die for justice than live an ignoble life. I planned to sacrifice myself for justice, but Emperor Su persuaded me with reason and moved me with emotion. He also showed me the evidence that Emperor Ning colluded with the powerful resurrected cultivators. Then I realized the truth. The truth couldn't be clearer. Tranquility Emperor used to be domineering and domineering, running amok in a region. In order to restore peace in the immortal realm, Emperor Su, who hated the evil but loved the good, decided to eradicate the ruthless Emperor Ning and severely injured him in the constellation of 9 heavens. But Emperor Ning was so mad that he colluded with the resurrected cultivators from the battlefield of immortals and demons in order to resist the righteous army of Emperor Su. He asked the dead emperor to kill Emperor Su at the cost of sacrificing the 3 empires. What was more despicable was that Emperor Ning even encouraged the righteous cultivators to gather tens of millions of cultivators to work for him. Hearing this, the 1 million cultivators were in an uproar. I had eyes but failed to see. I actually mistook the righteous Lord Emperor Su for an evil and brutal cultivator of the evil Tao and questioned him for his crimes. I apologized to Emperor Su on behalf of the righteous cultivators in the world. Perfected cultivator Lang Xiao bowed to Su Fang 3 times with a face full of regret and sincerity. Numerous gazes converged on Su Fang's body. In an instant, Su Fang's head seemed to be covered with a halo of justice. Even the bloody killing star couldn't hide its brilliance. Everyone was dumbfounded. Why was it like an opera? For a moment, the 1 million cultivators fell into silence. It was so quiet that even the sound of a needle dropping could be heard clearly. Even Su Fang's face was burning and his whole body was covered with goosebumps. How could a man be so shameless? Moreover, he was a peerless powerhouse in the 6 Paths Saint Immortal Realm, the owner of Renjian Villa. Su Fang couldn't help but admire perfected cultivator Lang Xiao. Suddenly Tranquility Emperor's cold voice came from the void. Perfected cultivator Lang Xiao has been controlled by Su Fang. Why don't you do something to save him? Everyone was enlightened. The white-haired old man of Renjian Villa shouted angrily, "Kill Su Fang and save our owner." The 1 million cultivators roared together and were about to kill Su Fang. Stop! Whoosh! Perfected cultivator Lang Xiao flew across the sky and came to the cultivators of Renjian Villa in an instant. He grabbed the white-haired old man and slapped him several times. "I'm full of righteousness. What kind of evil method can control me? You believe in Tranquility Emperor, but don't you believe in me?" The next moment, boom! A stream of righteousness rushed up to the sky and filled the space. Perfected cultivator Lang Xiao was like the embodiment of righteousness, majestic and invincible. That's right. Perfected cultivator Lang Xiao has the supreme power of Renjian Villa and cultivated the righteousness. How could he be controlled by evil method? If he is controlled by evil method, how could he release such pure righteousness? Is what perfected cultivator Lang Xiao said true? Is it Tranquility Emperor's trick to devour the 3 empires? Tranquility Emperor is a tyrant. He is arrogant and cruel. Why wouldn't he do something like this? Everyone was in a heated discussion. They were not convinced. The old man of Renjian Villa was stunned by perfected cultivator Lang Zhao's slaps. He stammered, "Owner, you are not controlled by evil method?" "Bullshit. I'm fine. How could I be controlled by evil method? Do you want me to die early so that you can take over the position of owner?" Perfected cultivator Lang Xiao shouted coldly again. "I don't dare. Owner." The old man in white hurriedly bowed and cupped his fist. The 3,000 disciples of Renjian Villa also saluted to perfected cultivator Lang Xiao. Perfected cultivator Lang Xiao looked at Su Fang and shouted, "Emperor Su, I'm sorry for this misunderstanding. From now on, I and the disciples of Rinjian Villa will spread the good name of Emperor Su around the macro world to atone for our mistake." Then he glanced at the righteous cultivators and said in a majestic voice, "Everyone, the matter has been clarified. I planned to lead the righteous cultivators to fight against Tranquility Emperor together with Emperor Su. However, Emperor Su doesn't want to involve the entire righteous cultivators because of personal grudges. He wants to fight against the heartless Tranquility Emperor alone. Therefore, Rinjian Villa won't get involved. You can go back now." After that, perfected cultivator Lang Xiao left with the 3,000 disciples of Rinjian Villa. Some of the 1,000,000 cultivators left one after another. However, some of them looked at the bloody killing star above Su Fang's head and hesitated. There were also some who were ready to take action. Su Fang's voice was full of killing intent. "What? I, Su Fang, can kill tens of millions of soldiers of Emperor Ning's mansion. Do you think I can't kill 1,000,000 of you? Idiots who are being used as tools. Get out of here!" Dugu Mujian shouted coldly. A blast of sword chi burst out and the horrible sword essence of destruction covered all directions. The invincible power of a peerless sword cultivator immediately dispelled some cultivators' greed. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Groups of righteous cultivators left quickly. In a moment there were only hundreds of thousands of cultivators left. The crowd suddenly became sparse. "Su Fang, you're really something. You can even make perfected cultivator Lang Xiao speak for you. I'm really surprised by your power." Tranquility Emperor's voice came again. He controlled the 12 empires in Emperor Ning's mansion, and his will could reach every corner with the help of the power of the world. He had been paying attention to Su Fang since the moment Su Fang stepped into the territory of Emperor Ning's mansion. Su Fang sneered coldly. "Compared to Tranquility Emperor, you colluded with the undead Emperor and destroyed 3 empires and tens of thousands of lives. I, Su Fang, am still far inferior." Tranquility Emperor snorted and didn't explain himself. Then his majestic voice came again. "Powerful cultivators from all over the world, you came to Emperor Ning's mansion for Su Fang. What are you waiting for? Are you really fooled by perfected cultivator Lang Xiao's words? We, the Wolf Teeth Mercenary Team, are here to take the reward from Grand Star Hall. I don't care whether you are from the evil or the righteous. Su Fang, die." Suddenly, one figure after another dashed out from the crowd. The 5 middle-aged men in the front looked exactly the same. They were actually brothers. All of them looked ferocious and were covered with bloody killing intent. Around their necks hung a ferocious blood-red wolf's tooth that was more than a foot long. Among the 5 men, the strongest one was at the 5 Dao realm of Saint Immortal. The weakest one was at the 2nd Dao realm. The 5 of them dashed out at the same time and formed a strange formation to launch a joint attack. Their momentum was at the peak of the 7 Dao realm. Then, they dashed toward Su Fang. "The Wolf Teeth Mercenary Team?" Su Fang raised his eyebrows as a serious look appeared in his eyes. In the macro world, mercenary teams were everywhere and there were many powerful cultivators among them. The most famous and powerful one was the Wolf Teeth Mercenary Team. It was said that the Wolf Teeth Mercenary Team had more than 10 million members, and they could be found in every corner of the Immortal region. The leader of the mercenary team was mysterious and rarely showed up. It was unexpected that all of them were immortal emperors and had mastered a joint attack similar to the Grand Combination magic. Their overall strength was amazing. =_our download address. Mobile reading, bibliographic review. Chapter 1390. Kill! The immortal fiend monster shouted coldly and took a step forward to meet the 5 leaders of the Wolf Fang mercenaries. Then, he unleashed a strange yet powerful aura of immortal fiend. Howl! The more than 100 realm immortals following behind the leaders of the mercenaries formed hand seals at the same time and condensed their aura into a 500-foot-long blood-red wolf. It opened its ferocious mouth and let out a deafening roar. It was as if a heavenly wolf had descended upon the great world. Such a divine ability was not weaker than a 5-Dao saint, immortal realm, immortal emperor. Just as Dugumujian was about to make a move, a sharp and ear-piercing howl came from the void. Ripples appeared in the void due to the howl. Some cultivators below the world immortal realm had their eardrums shattered and bled from their ears. A black-robed cultivator suddenly appeared in the sky. His eyes shone with a bone-chilling divine light as he stared at Su Fang. Then, he said in a chilling voice, "Su Fang, my hope of passing the tribulation is on you." Tranquility Emperor's voice came from the void. "Thunder Eagle Demon Emperor, if you can kill Su Fang this time, I'm willing to give you a spiritual bead left behind by a 7-Dao Saint Immortal Realm Demon Emperor. Then I'll accept it," the black-robed cultivator said coldly. Lore reminded Su Fang from the blood jade in his body. Is this an ancient demonic beast? Thunder Eagle, a pair of claws that can tear apart a territory and release thunder techniques. Moreover, this big goblin is a demon emperor whose strength is equivalent to the peak of the 6-Dao Saint Immortal Realm. The big goblin's combat strength is stronger than immortals. I'm afraid even Dugumujian is no match for this Thunder Eagle. Su Fang was shocked. He did not expect the ultimate reward of Grand Star Hall would attract such a powerful demon emperor. Reverend Lang Xiao did not go far with the disciples of Renjian Villa and the cultivators of the righteous Tao. They were observing the situation from afar. Seeing that the Wolfang mercenaries had made their move and another peerless demon emperor had appeared, the white-haired old man from Renjian Villa said, "Villa Master, Emperor Su seems to be in a bad situation. What kind of character is Emperor Su? How can he be shaken by these rascals from the Wolf-Fang mercenary group? Just wait and see. When Emperor Su releases his troops, I guarantee that the Wolf-Fang mercenary group will be wiped clean." Supreme Master Lang Xiao sneered disdainfully. Even the master of Renjian Manor was scared by Su Fang. "All the monsters have come out? Dugumujian, I'll leave this demon emperor to you. I'll deal with the Wolf-Fang mercenary group," Su Fang said with killing intent. "Xuanxin, be careful." After instructing Fairy Xuanxin, Su Fang dashed towards the heavenly wolf formed by the abhijna of the Wolf-Fang mercenaries. "Sky Wolf, kill!" The heavenly wolf formed by the mercenary opened its mouth, and with a terrifying aura that could devour everything, it arrived before Su Fang. Natal form, in an instant, the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda flew out from the heavenly cauldron of creation and entered Su Fang's body, fusing with Su Fang's body. The experts and Big Goblin in the True Dragon world also entered battle mode, injecting their magic power and true qi into the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda. The true qi and magic power from countless experts entered the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda, and after fusing with the natal magic treasure and exploding, it was transferred to Su Fang. Su Fang was already at the 7th Dao realm in the world immortal realm, and his strength was far from what it used to be. The Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda was upgraded to a supreme-grade Dao artifact not long ago, and together with the experts of the True Dragon world, their overall strength was also incomparably strong. How terrifying would Su Fang be when he burst out with his natal form? Boom! The heavenly wolf formed by the abhijna retreated 1,000 feet away, and it shattered into pieces. Puff, puff, puff. Almost all the mercenaries spurted out blood at the same time, and some world immortals below the 3rd Dao realm had their internal organs directly shattered. The power of one blow was so strong. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Su Fang's body suddenly collapsed, and in an instant, it turned into a huge blood sea of thousands of feet in size, rolling and roaring and sweeping out like surging waves. Acheron Blood Sea! That's the Acheron Blood Sea, the Acheron Blood Sea, the Acheron Demon Emperor's peerless abhijna. The people watching the battle from afar were still immersed in the intense shock brought by Su Fang's natal form, and seeing the legendary peerless abhijna, they fell into shock again. The white-haired old man of the Renjian villa couldn't help but ask, "Villa master, since Emperor Su is not an evil cultivator, how did he master the evil abhijna of the demon Tao?" Immortal Lang Shao said with conviction, "There is no distinction between evil and righteous abhijna, it depends on who is using it. In the hands of the Acheron demon emperor, the Acheron blood sea is of course an evil abhijna, but in the hands of Emperor Su, it is naturally a sword of justice to slay evil." Boom! The surging waves of blood sea, with the momentum of raging waves beating the shore, hit the remaining 70 to 80 mercenaries and made them stagger. The waves of blood sea suddenly spun wildly, forming a huge whirlpool, and wrapped the mercenaries up. Ah! Under the gaze of tens of thousands of people, the mercenaries struggled in the Acheron blood sea, wailing miserably. Sizzle! The huge devouring power and the corrosive power of the blood water caused the mercenaries' bodies to rot layer by layer. After being devoured by the blood water, in just 5 breaths, they turned into white bones floating in the blood water. Even the white bones continued to be devoured by the blood water equals N_1. Hundreds of immortals of the world immortal realm, and all of them were ruthless mercenaries who had experienced hundreds of battles, were swallowed up in front of everyone's eyes. The cultivators watching the battle from afar all trembled, and at the same time they all gasped. The sound of millions of people gathered together was like a tsunami. In the sky, the Thunderhawk demon emperor's gloomy eyes were also filled with shock and fear. The white-haired old man of the Renjian manor said in a trembling voice, "Manor Lord, isn't Emperor Su's divine power a bit too evil?" No matter how thick-skinned Supreme Master Lang Shao was, he couldn't find any words to defend Su Fang. "Su Fang, the Wolf Fang mercenary team will fight you to the death." The 5 leaders of the Wolf Fang mercenary team, who were fighting the immortal and demon monsters together, all let out a heart-wrenching roar at the same time. These hundreds of world immortals were the most elite force of the Wolf Fang mercenary team. Being swallowed by Su Fang in one breath was equivalent to cutting off an arm of the mercenary team, which could be said to be a real loss. How could the 5 leaders not feel heartache at such a heavy loss? The Wolf Fang mercenary team came for Su Fang's head, so they should have been prepared to have their teeth broken. Fight me to the death? From today onwards, the Wolf Fang mercenary team will be removed from this immortal realm. What right do you have to fight me to the death? In the underworld blood sea where the flame of life was burning, Su Fang let out a majestic voice, saying that he wanted to remove the number 1 mercenary team in the immortal realm. How domineering! Then, Su Fang said to the immortal and demon monster with a cold primordial spirit voice, "Second primordial spirit, don't hold back your strength. Kill them all. You should have done this earlier." The immortal and demon monster showed a cold smile, and the explosive momentum suddenly increased a lot. The divine power of immortal and demon formed a weird shackle force, which shrouded the 5 leaders of the Wolf Fang mercenary team in the divine power, wearing down their joint attack layer by layer. Suppressing the momentum and divine power of the 5 experts by himself, the immortal and demon monster's strength had reached an extremely shocking level. Tranquility Emperor's voice sounded again. "Thunder Eagle Demon Monarch, if you don't make a move now, I'm afraid you won't have the chance to." What an evil Emperor Su! I've swallowed tens of thousands of human cultivators in my life, but I'm still inferior to you. Let me have a taste of your demon Tao skills. Whoosh! Thunder Eagle Demon Monarch's body flashed, leaving a residual shadow on the spot. In the blink of an eye, he had come to a place only 10 miles away from Su Fang. The demon spread out its arms and tens of thousands of huge black eagles flew out from its black robes. Their claws flashed with lightning. After spreading their wings, even the 4 suns in the sky were covered. They brought with them a monstrous demonic aura as they swooped down towards Su Fang. Some cultivators of the orthodox Tao who wanted to take advantage of the situation were attacked by the black eagles. Their bodies were immediately torn apart by the sharp claws, or swept away by the space turbulence caused by the Black Eagles. Break! Dugumujian activated the dual swords of destruction, which burst out a shocking sword chi. It turned into a sword light and slashed out fiercely with a horrifying momentum that could destroy everything. Hundreds of black eagles were cut into two halves by the sword chi. Feathers and blood were scattered all over the ground. However, there were so many black eagles that Dugumujian couldn't kill them all in a short time. At this moment, Xuanxin Fairy made a hand seal and shot out a ball of chili xian guang from her palm, releasing the queen of the frigid snow ants. At the next moment, the queen opened her mouth and spat out a white mist. It was thumb-sized, transparent, and ant-like creatures with wings on their back. Swoosh! 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 Tens of millions of frigid snow ants gathered into a rolling cloud and swept toward the black eagles. Rustle! 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 Wherever the white mist went, the ferocious black eagles were first affected by the chilly chi. Their speed suddenly slowed down, and then they were drowned by the ant tide. In an instant they were swallowed whole. The other black eagles were extremely frightened. They scrambled to escape. In less than 3 breaths, the ant tide was surging violently within 3,000 feet in front of Xuanxin Fairy. Not a single black eagle could be seen. Frigid snow ants. A female cultivator of the world immortal realm, like you can actually control frigid snow ants. How dare you kill my big goblin? Die. The cultivator body of the Black Eagle Demon Sovereign quickly turned into a 2,000 feet huge, terrifying black eagle. His 2 claws shot out 200 feet wide lightning claw marks, forcing Dugumujian to retreat. Then, the huge black eagle flapped its wings. After a series of thunderous rumbles, with a swoosh, it carried a monstrous ferocious aura and pounced toward Xuanxin Fairy. Its speed was as fast as lightning. Fairy Xuanxin Fairy smiled proudly. A clear cry suddenly sounded from Fairy Xuanxin Fairy's body and resounded through the sky. A white xian guang circled around Fairy Xuanxin Fairy for a while before finally condensing into a sparkling and translucent divine bird that enveloped her body. It was like a divine bird had descended to the world. It emitted a supreme divine might and an inviolable noble and holy aura. It made everyone present, including the righteous Tao cultivators who were watching the battle from afar, feel a strong sense of oppression. The thought of submitting to it appeared in their hearts. Puff, puff, puff. The black eagles were unable to withstand this divine might and fell to the ground one after another. Some were directly scared to death. Divine bird, Ice Phoenix, the huge black eagle that was the Black Eagle Demon Monarch's body, was filled with terror and fear. It did not even dare to look at Fairy Xuanxin Fairy. The monstrous ferocious aura that was just a moment ago was now suppressed to the point where it was on the verge of death. Its huge body could not help but tremble. The phoenix was a divine bird. It was a supreme existence to the winged big goblin. The ice phoenix was a mutated divine bird. It was cold, holy, and inviolable. All winged big goblins had to submit to its brilliant divine might. The Black Eagle Demon Monarch was a peerless big goblin that had cultivated for tens of millions of years. It was also a mutated beast. In terms of strength, even an 8 paths Saint Immortal Celestial Emperor would not be able to suppress it without special divine abilities. Such a powerful big goblin could not help but feel fear and submit to Fairy Xuanxin Fairy's Ice Phoenix's divine might. This was an innate trait of demons that could not be changed. =_our download address, mobile reading, bibliographic review. Chapter 1391. Ice Phoenix. So you cultivated the true body of the Ice Phoenix with the help of the Ice Phoenix's blood essence. After devouring you, with the help of the Ice Phoenix's blood essence, this emperor can easily pass the tribulation and break through the shackles. The Black Eagle Demon Emperor was indeed a peerless demon emperor. After the initial reverence and fear, his eyes revealed a ruthless and ferocious cold light. His demon chi suddenly surged and his claws exploded with lightning, shattering the surrounding ice phoenix's aura. After all, Fairy Xuanxin was only in the world immortal realm. The gap between her and the Black Eagle Demon Emperor was too big. In addition, she wasn't a real ice phoenix, but a true body cultivated from a drop of the ice phoenix's blood essence. She could suppress the Black Eagle Demon Emperor, but she couldn't suppress him. At this moment, Dugumujian activated the dual sword of annihilation. A sword chi ruthlessly slashed at the Black Eagle Demon Emperor's abdomen. Black feathers fell and blood splattered everywhere. Fairy Xuanxin activated the divine power of the Ice Phoenix, creating a huge suppression on the Black Eagle Demon Emperor. At the same time, the Queen Ant also controlled the army of Frost Snow Ants to surge toward the Black Eagle Demon Emperor. Under the divine power of the Ice Phoenix, those ordinary black eagles didn't dare to come close. Just like this, an extremely powerful peerless demon emperor was suppressed by the joint efforts of Fairy Xuanxin and Dugumujian. However, they couldn't suppress him in a short period of time. The situation was under Su Fang's control. True Lord Lang Xiao became complacent again. How is it? I was right. What kind of person is Emperor Su? How can the clowns of the Wolf Fang mercenaries and the Black Eagle Demon Emperor do anything to him? Look at Emperor Su's Dao companion. She's such a pure and noble peerless female cultivator. How can Emperor Su be an evil person? Everyone who was completely subdued by Fairy Xuanxin's Ice Phoenix's divine power deeply agreed with his words. Whoosh, whoosh. It turned out that Su Fang had completely devoured more than 100 cultivators of the Wolf Fang mercenaries and reformed his physical body. He looked hale and hearty, with a vast aura and exuberant vitality. In a short period of time, not only was his previous exhaustion swept away, even his true qi cultivation had improved a lot. Whoosh, whoosh. Su Fang then released the Green Feather Emperor, Bai Ling, and Li Haojie. I never thought that there would be a day where I would have the opportunity to fight against a peerless demon sovereign. Ha ha ha! The Green Feather Emperor let out a burst of wild and unrestrained laughter as he flew towards the Black Hawk Demon Sovereign. So what if he's a demon emperor? How dare you bully this fairy's younger brother's wife? This fairy will also torture you. Bai Ling shouted angrily and joined the chaotic battle. Li Haojie glanced at the Thunder Eagle Demon Sovereign, and his eyes immediately lit up. It is actually a demon sovereign. Haha, I am the expert in dealing with demons. Watch me. Blood-colored immortal light book shadows flashed from Li Haojie's explosive aura as he activated the Yuan-suppressing demon transforming heavenly book to deal with the Black Hawk Demon Monarch. The Green Feather Emperor and Bai Ling were two powerful big goblin. Although they only had the strength of a demon sovereign, they were very extraordinary. The Green Feather Emperor was from the royal family of the Demon Clan and had the talent of space. Bai Ling had the Chaos Ring. After they joined the battle, the Black Hawk Demon Sovereign's aura was suppressed to the extreme. Dugumujian's destruction sword chi left a wound that was more than 3 meters long on his neck. The destruction sword chi invaded his body and caused great damage. Li Haojie was the most powerful one. Waves of blood curse fire wrapped around the Black Hawk Demon's sovereign and burned him continuously, causing great damage to him. For a moment, the Black Hawk Demon's sovereign was in a situation of being trampled. However, this demon was really tough. He roared furiously and struck out lightning claw prints, fighting Su Fang's subordinates to death without retreating. On the other side, the 5 leaders of the Wolf Fang mercenary group were suppressed by the immortal and demonic monsters. Their defeat was already a foregone conclusion. The situation on the battlefield was one-sided. Su Fang spoke to the void with a majestic voice. Tranquility Emperor, what other tricks do you have? Show them all. Then, he looked at a mountain on the ground. Su Fang's eyes flashed and he said coldly, and that expert over there, how long do you want to wait? A figure jumped out from the mountain. It was an old beggar in ragged clothes, who looked like he would be blown down by a gust of wind. However, Su Fang could sense that this ordinary-looking old beggar was actually a 7-Dao Saint Immortal Emperor Realm expert. Moreover, his aura was very strange. It was a kind of strange aura that reversed the nature of wood. A realm immortal cultivator can actually sense my existence. No wonder you're the famous Emperor Su. The old beggar looked at Su Fang curiously with his eyes shining with vigor. Tranquility Emperor's majestic voice sounded again. Withered immortal, you've been stuck at the peak of the 7-Dao Saint Immortal for millions of years and can't make a breakthrough. This bloody star-killing mission set by the Grand Star Hall is the only chance for you to make a breakthrough. If you don't seize it now, you'll die. The old beggar said lazily, Tranquility Emperor, this is the territory of your Tranquility Emperor Mansion. You hide like a coward and incite others to take action. What's the reason for that? I'm seriously injured and can't leave the Tranquility Emperor land. Otherwise, why do I need help from others? Withered glory old immortal, kill Su Fang. This emperor will lend you a helping hand equals N_1. I'd like to see how powerful the famous Emperor Su is. Even Tranquility Emperor, who has been famous for millions of years, is suppressed like this. The old beggar, who was called Withered Glory Old Immortal by Tranquility Emperor, looked at Su Fang with a yellow light flashing in his eyes. Su Fang, there is no grudge between you and me. I don't care about your treasures and resources. However, in order to make a breakthrough in cultivation, I have to exchange your head for the reward of the Grand Star Hall. I'm sorry for offending you. Withered Immortal. As soon as he finished his words, Withered Immortal's eyes suddenly shot out divine light with a strong sense of withering. Seeing the withering divine light in Withered Immortal's eyes, the onlookers in the distance immediately felt that the young immortal's body was withering like a withered tree. They were so scared that they looked away and didn't dare to look at Withered Immortal's eyes again. The divine light that exploded from his eyes was actually able to injure people invisibly. Such a strange divine ability was truly shocking. A divine ability executed with both eyes? Haha, I happen to know a little bit of it. Su Fang sneered in his heart. He activated the illusory fire cloud, and a shocking flame was burning in his eyes. The sky-burning eye. The moment the flame was ignited, the withered immortal saw it traveling through the void. Boom! The withering divine light in withered immortal's eyes burned like a lamp that met a flame. My eyes. Damn it! What kind of magic is this? It can restrain me and even affect my primordial spirit. Withered Immortal screamed and quickly closed his eyes. He didn't dare to look at Su Fang anymore. His eyes were burned and swollen like peaches, which looked funny and ridiculous. Seeing this, perfected Lord Lang Zhao's eyes burned with pain again, and a chill rose in his heart. In the last battle, his eyes were burned by Su Fang's sky-burning eye. Later, during the 30 years in the Zhenlong world, he took the elixir made by Zhu Tian Old Monster and barely recovered the power of his eyes. Su Fang, you have angered me. With a furious roar, Withered Immortal formed a seal and released a burst of energy. In a split second, a withering force covered 1,000 miles. On the ground, the forest instantly withered and turned into dead trees. Some birds and beasts also aged rapidly. Some turned into white bones the moment they fell to the ground. It was as if a lifetime had passed in a split second. All living things within 1,000 miles seemed to have experienced countless years and quickly became old and withered. Many cultivators who were watching the battle from afar fled in fear. Fortunately, Withered Immortal's withering force wasn't targeted at them and didn't shackle them, allowing them to escape the area covered by the divine power. Apart from the immortal fiend monster, the Black Hawk Demon Emperor, and Dugumujian, who weren't affected much, the rest of the great demons were affected by the withering force that reversed their lives. Time flew by and so did their lives. Boom! An extremely overbearing and astonishing divine power of the world was added to withered immortal's divine power, increasing the power of the withering world by 30%. Now, even the immortal fiend monster, the Black Hawk demon Tharch, and Dugumujian were affected by the withering force. It turned out that Tranquility Emperor had activated the power of the world in Tranquility Emperor's mansion to help withered immortal deal with Su Fang with the supreme divine power of the tyrannical emperor's sky-soaring technique. Tranquility Emperor, thank you. Withered immortal let out a strange laugh and struck out a seal. A burst of divine power of the world shrouded Su Fang, forming an astonishing shackle and withering force. What a strange divine power of the wood element! But do you think you can suppress me, Su Fang, with just this? A burst of divine power of the flame burst out from Su Fang's body. At the same time, he activated the power of the world seed and released the overbearing and scorching divine power of the fire element world. The divine power of the fire element began to fight with the surrounding shackles. Layer by layer, it incinerated and burned, causing sparks to fly. The withering force was somewhat similar to the great Tao of death. It was a divine power formed by reversing the life force of the wood element. The divine power of the fire element was the only power that could restrain the withering force. Although Su Fang's cultivation was one realm lower than withered immortals, it was like a natural chasm. However, the Nine Suns immortal fire, which was superior to any other fire in the immortal world, together with the power of the world seed, the withering force of withered immortal, and the divine power of Tranquility Emperor's world, could hardly shackle Su Fang. Emperor Su's fame is indeed not for nothing. You can already contend with me at such a low realm. When you become an immortal emperor, who can suppress you? Withered immortal was shocked. Boom, boom, boom. It turned out that the immortal devil monster used its divine power to kill the two immortal emperors of the Wolf Fang mercenaries. The remaining 3 immortal emperors immediately turned around and left, not caring about avenging their brothers. On the other side, Black Hawk Demon Emperor was covered with cuts and bruises all over his body. He was on the verge of being seriously injured. It was mainly Xuanxin's divine power of the Ice Phoenix and Li Haojie's demon transformation heavenly book that suppressed him too much. Bai Ling's chaotic force and Green Feather Emperor's spatial force had limited Black Hawk Demon Emperor's speed. In addition to Dugumujian, a peerless sword cultivator, Black Hawk Demon Emperor, a ferocious big goblin, was about to be suppressed. Tranquility Emperor shouted to remind Withered Immortal, "This is not good. Su Fang's subordinate is not only extremely powerful, but also has the unparalleled primordial spirit power of the peak of the Saint Immortal realm. Withered Immortal, you must kill Su Fang quickly. Otherwise, not only will you not be able to get the reward from Grand Star Hall, but you may also die here." Withered Immortal's expression changed abruptly. He unleashed his most powerful divine power and struck out a shocking handprint. A withered and yellow Xian Guang rolled out. Within 1,000 miles of space, a desolate scene appeared. There was a barren land, withered trees, and dried-up rivers. Withered Immortal performed his most powerful divine power and created a space with the power of Withered and the divine power of the world. He was the absolute master of this space. Crack, crack. Swathes of withered trees rose from the ground, forming a dense mass of tens of millions of withered tree puppets that swayed as they pounced towards Su Fang. There were also withered vines that looked like the tentacles of a monster. They stretched out from the ground and swept towards Su Fang and the others. _our download address. Mobile reading, bibliographic review. Chapter 1392. The monster was about to make a move. Boom. An amazing power of the world covered him and formed a horrifying shackle, which slowed down his movement. It turned out that Tranquility Emperor had activated the origin of Tranquility Emperor's mansion to suppress the monster with the power of the world. What a powerful monster! Even though it was shackled, it still burst out the power of the combination of immortal and devil to fight against Tranquility Emperor's power of the world. Even with the help of the origin of Tranquility Emperor's mansion, Tranquility Emperor still couldn't suppress it. However, the monster couldn't help Su Fong for the time being. Su Fong was facing Withered Immortal, a 7-Dao Saint Immortal, and was in a precarious situation. The withered vines crazily swept over and shackled Su Fong's body. The withered trees extended their dry branches and rushed over like tentacles, trying to suck up his life essence. Tranquility Emperor's complacent voice echoed, "Su Fong, how dare you come to my territory? How arrogant you are! Let's see how you can escape this time." Ha ha! The white-haired old man of Rinjian Villa couldn't help but ask, "Villa Master, should we help Emperor Su?" "Help? Why should we?" Perfected Lord Lang Shao smiled indifferently. "Remember, Rinjian Manor has survived several Immortal Fiend wars because it abides by 2 iron rules. It's to judge the situation and size up the situation. Also, it's to shout loudly but not do anything. Do you understand?" The white-haired old man revealed a thoughtful expression equals N_R. Before Tranquility Emperor's laughter faded away, boom! An astonishing flame aura burst out from Su Fong's body. With the support of the Black-Yellow 6 Paths Pagoda's Fire Elemental Divine Aura and Su Fong's 9 Suns Immortal Fire's Divine Aura, the 2 Supreme Fire Elemental Divine Auras immediately burned away all the shackles on his body. The withered vines and branches were reduced to ashes in a split second. All the vines and withered trees within a Tenjong radius were completely cleared away. He turned his palm and the fiery cloud spiritual gourd appeared in his hand. A stream of flame spurted out and swept over all directions. Puff, puff. Wherever the flames swept past, all the power of withering was incinerated. Even the space that old immortal withered Rong had created was burned into a large hole. What a good fire-type magical treasure! This is the best quality. It can actually release such a tyrannical flame. However, let's see how long your magical treasure can last. Old immortal withered Rong activated the power of withering and used the laws of his own space. Withered trees and withered vines attacked Su Fong in a frenzy. Although they were burned by the 9 Yang immortal flames of the fire spirit gourd, they were also constantly depleting the power of the flame soul. "Su Fong, I've heard that you have quite a few peerless Dao artifacts. Why haven't you taken them out yet? I would like to see how a puny little world immortal like you can break through the divine might of my world." As the power of the flaming cloud spiritual gourd gradually weakened, old immortal withered Rong snorted, looking as if victory was already within his grasp. "Why would I need to use a peerless Dao artifact to deal with you?" Su Fong's entire body instantly turned into a burning cloud of fire. He looked like a man made of fire. Then, with a loud bang, he turned into a white flame that burned and turned into a raging sea of fire. What kind of ability is this? How can your entire body turn into flames? Fire true body. You've actually cultivated a fire true body. What kind of flame is that? It's so tyrannical. Old immortal withered Rong was dumbfounded. His red and swollen eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. He cultivated a wood-type cultivation method, and was especially sensitive to fire-type divine might. Naturally, he could sense Su Fong's fire-type divine might. Apart from the aura of several alien flame seeds, there was also the terrifying and tyrannical 9 Yang immortal flames. Fire cloud imperial body. Whoosh! The sea of fire that covered an area of 10 feet swept toward the sea of withered trees. Puff, puff, puff. The moment it came into contact with the sea of fire, the withered trees immediately burned fiercely and rapidly spread in all directions. What was the meaning of dry wood meeting a raging fire? The scene in front of them was exactly that. Su Fong was like a fire god that turned into a sea of fire. Wherever he went, withered trees and vines would burn, forming a spreading momentum that could not be stopped. The self-space created by old immortal withered Rong was riddled with holes under the burning of Su Fang's fire cloud imperial body, revealing the natural void. The withered trees and vines formed by the withering power in the self-space became Su Fang's fuel. Such a shocking scene turned more than 1,000,000 cultivators into ice sculptures. They were dumbfounded and their eyes were filled with shock and horror. Is this his true strength? Perfected Lord Lang Shao looked at the raging sea of fire and felt a chill in his heart. The self-space created by old immortal withered Rong with his ability kept collapsing. In the end, he had no choice but to disperse his divine might. If this continued, even his body would be burned into a pile of ashes. Old immortal withered Rong's messy hair turned yellow like a messy chicken's nest. His face was as pale as paper. His ability was broken and he was seriously injured. Humph! Su Fang, you're lucky this time. I'll be waiting for you in the sovereign land. Tranquility Emperor snorted unwillingly. How could Tranquility Emperor be willing to accept that the ultimate reward set by the Grand Star Hall failed again? However, Tranquility Emperor could do nothing about it. His voice gradually faded away, and the divine might of the world that shackled the monster also disappeared. The monster flew toward Tranquility Emperor. The sea of fire that Su Fang turned into rolled up and condensed into a human figure. Eventually, the fire disappeared and Su Fang regained his physical body. He glanced at old immortal withered Rong with divine light in his eyes and said coldly, "Old immortal withered Rong, do you still want to take Su Fang's head?" Old immortal withered Rong saw that Black Hawk Demon Emperor was about to be suppressed and had no chance to escape. Then, he saw a peerless powerhouse of the 8 Tao Saint Immortal Realm beside Su Fang. Old immortal withered Rong gave up the idea completely and said dejectedly, "You have such a domineering true body of fire and the help of a powerhouse. I can't do anything to you. Su Fang, I'm attacking you today because I'll die in 10,000 years if I don't break through the shackles of the 7 Tao Saint Immortal Realm. I'm really forced to do this. Sorry for the offense." Old immortal withered Rong cupped his fists at Su Fang and was about to escape. "Wait!" Su Fang suddenly said. "What? Do you still want to suppress me?" "Humph! Although it's hard for me to suppress you, do you really think I'm a weakling that you can kill at will? Since I'm about to die, I'll just fight you to the death before I die." Old immortal withered Rong shouted angrily and was about to form a seal. Su Fang shook his head and said, "I don't mean to keep you here. I just want to tell you that the Great Star Hall doesn't have a way to break through the shackles of cultivation. I, Su Fang, also have a way to help you break through the shackles of cultivation within 10,000 years." Old immortal withered Rong was stunned for a moment before he laughed maniacally. "I've cultivated the wood elemental withering Great Tao, and have been trapped in the 7 Tao Saint Immortal Realm for 5,000,000 years. I've tried all kinds of methods but still couldn't break through. How long have you, a world immortal, cultivated? How dare you say you can help me break through the shackles of cultivation?" Chi. Su Fang flicked a pill at old immortal withered Rong. "Yin Yang Immortal Sky Pill?" The Yin Yang Immortal Sky Pill was very famous. Naturally, old immortal withered Rong recognized it. The medicinal efficacy of the Yin Yang Immortal Sky Pill sold by the Great Star Hall is indeed unique. It contains a strange mixture of Yang and Yin world energy. It's indeed very useful for me to break through the shackles of cultivation. However, I'm at the 7 Tao Saint Immortal Realm. This pill has very little effect on me. Wait, this isn't the pill sold by the Great Star Hall. Old immortal withered Rong shook his head. He was puzzled when he realized there was something wrong with the pill in his hand. Old immortal withered Rong studied the pill before he circulated his true energy to dissolve the pill. He then used his skin to sense the pill's power. In the next moment, old immortal withered Rong's eyes were filled with shock. This pill! Why is its medicinal efficacy 10 times purer and more majestic than the Yin Yang Immortal Sky Pill sold by the Great Star Hall? I understand now. This is a supreme-grade yin-yang immortal sky pill. Su Fang said, That's right. The highest-grade yin-yang immortal sky pill sold by the Great Star Hall is a high-grade one. However, the one I gave you is a supreme-grade one. Old Immortal Withered Rong's expression darkened. He shook his head and said, A supreme-grade yin-yang immortal sky pill like yours is extremely precious. How can 1 or 2 pills help me break through the shackles of the 7 Tao Saint immortal realm? Su Fang smiled faintly and said domineeringly, If 1 or 2 pills won't do, how about 10,000 pills? If 10,000 pills won't do, how about 100,000 pills? Old Immortal Withered Rong's eyes shone brightly. How can you have so many supreme-grade yin-yang immortal sky pills? Su Fang said proudly, Why do you think the Great Star Hall is willing to pay any price to place a bounty on me? I'm the one who refined the yin-yang immortal sky pill. Even the Great Star Hall can't get their hands on such supreme-grade yin-yang immortal sky pills, but my alchemy dojo can refine them endlessly. Old Immortal Withered Rong's eyes lit up with the flame of hope. What do you want? I'll trade it with you. Unexpectedly, Su Fang ignored him and flew straight to the Black Hawk Demon Emperor, leaving Old Immortal Withered Rong alone. He was very nervous. Taking out the Thunder Punishment Cauldron, Su Fang shouted coldly, Thunder Hawk Demon Emperor, you want to kill me and obtain the ultimate bounty from the Great Star Hall. You want to pass the tribulation. This supreme Tao artifact in my hand can devour the power of the Thunder Punishment and help you pass the tribulation easily. Submit to me and I'll help you pass the demon tribulation. Otherwise, you won't be able to escape death today. That's the Thunder Punishment Cauldron. The Thunder Hawk Demon Emperor sensed the terrifying heavenly Tao Thunder Punishment Chi in the Thunder Punishment Cauldron. That was the power that the big goblin feared the most. His eyes were filled with fear. He was indeed a peerless demon emperor who had lived for thousands of years. He recognized the origin of the broken cauldron in Su Fang's hand at a glance. Stop, as long as you help me pass the tribulation, I'm willing to submit to you. The Thunder Hawk Demon Emperor was forced into a desperate situation. It was only a matter of time before he died. Now, Su Fang's condition was exactly what he had been dreaming of. How could he refuse? At least you know what's good for you. Chi. Su Fang flicked his finger. A special mark shot out from the red light towards the Black Hawk Demon Emperor's forehead and disappeared in an instant. The Black Hawk Demon Emperor turned back into a black-robed cultivator. He was covered in wounds and no longer looked as ferocious as before. Here are 1,000 yin-yang immortal sky pills. Heal your wounds first. Su Fang flicked a storage ring, and it fell into the Black Hawk Demon Emperor's hand. Yin-yang immortal sky pills, all of them are of the highest grade. The Black Hawk Demon Emperor exclaimed in shock. The yin-yang immortal sky pills contained the power of yin and yang. It could help condense the power of yin and yang in the body, assist in cultivation and help in recovery. It had many wonderful uses, especially for the big goblin. How could the Black Hawk Demon Emperor not be surprised to receive 1,000 of the highest grade yin-yang immortal sky pills? Seeing that Su Fang offered 1,000 of the highest grade yin-yang immortal sky pills, the Withered Rong Immortal was completely convinced. He looked at the Black Hawk Demon Emperor and swallowed his saliva. After hesitating and struggling for a moment, the Withered Rong Immortal cupped his fists and said, Lord Monarch Su, I'm willing to exchange any conditions with you for the highest grade yin-yang immortal sky pills. However, I'm used to being free and undisciplined. I won't submit to any forces and become their slave. Download address. Mobile reading. Bibliographic review. Chapter 1393. What kind of person is Su Fang? You still don't want to submit to him? It's been less than 1,000 years since I ascended to the immortal world with him. In such a short time, Su Fang already has a cultivation base of the 7 Tao realm of the world immortal realm. How many people in the great world can do that? A cultivator who ascended from the lower realm and became the overlord of an immortal realm is definitely one of a kind in the great world. I'll make a bet with you. In less than 100,000 years, he'll definitely be a peerless figure who can look down on the great world. What are you, an 8-Dao realm of the saint immortal realm, to him? Su Fang is a peerless genius with great providence. Submitting to him is a great opportunity bestowed to you by the heavens. You still don't want to submit? What a joke! The Cyan Feather Emperor sneered disdainfully at Withered Rong Old Immortal. Withered Rong Old Immortal was dumbfounded. Black Hawk Demon Emperor was also extremely shocked. Fairy Xuanxin looked at Su Fang. Her eyes were filled with tenderness and pride. Bai Ling said, "I'm not happy to see you, sloppy old man. Since you're not willing to submit to my brother, I'm planning to ask him not to accept you." Dugamujian also said, "Withered Rong Old Immortal, it's not easy for you to cultivate to such a level. Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't miss such a great opportunity. Even a proud sword cultivator like me wants to follow Su Fang forever, let alone you." Su Fang smiled faintly and said, "Since you're not willing to submit to others, I, Su Fang, won't force you. You only need to serve me for 10,000 years. Within this period, I'll provide you with supreme-grade yin-yang immortal sky pills, which are guaranteed to be enough for your cultivation. If it can't help you break through, I still have king-grade pills, which guarantee that you'll be able to reach the 8-Dao realm of the Saint Immortal realm. Of course, I'm not giving them to you for free. When I need your help, you can't shrink back. Otherwise, there won't be a free lunch." King-grade pills. Withered Rong Old Immortal's eyeballs almost fell out. Black Hawk Demon Emperor's eyes lit up with vigor and vitality in an instant. The Lightning Punishment Cauldron, the Yin-Yang Immortal Sky Pellet, and the King-grade medicinal pills that could help one transcend the tribulation. If he had known that this would happen, he would have taken the initiative to join the Grand Star Hall. He wouldn't have had to go through so much trouble just to complete the **T mission of the Grand Star Hall. From the looks of it, being suppressed by the Su Fang was not only not a disaster, on the contrary, it was a very good thing. I take back what I just said. I'm willing to submit to Lord Emperor Su. Old Immortal Kurong quickly changed his words, as if he was afraid that Su Fang would go back on his words. He had 2 more peerless experts under his command. Su Fang smiled disdainfully as he looked at the bloody killing star above his head. This time, the highest level bounty from the Grand Star Hall had caused quite a bit of trouble for the Su Fang. However, it had brought the Withered Glory Immortal and the Night Demon Emperor to the Su Fang. Not even the Grand Star Hall had anticipated such an outcome. The Withered Glory Immortal was at the peak of the 7-Dao realm and could reach the 8-Dao realm at any time. Moreover, he cultivated the great Dao of life of the wood element, which was powerful and unique. Once he made a breakthrough, ordinary 8-Dao realm Saint Immortals would be no match for him. The Night Demon Emperor was at the peak of the 6-Dao realm. His combat strength could already suppress ordinary 7-Dao realm Saint Immortals. As long as he could pass the tribulation successfully, he would be another peerless expert equivalent to an 8-Dao realm Saint Immortal. With 2 more such experts under his command, he had gained a lot this time. His overall strength had improved greatly once again. With such great strength, no one could get the ultimate bounty from the Grand Star Hall, except for peak immortal emperors. Who would dare to take it, no matter how tempting it was? Even peak immortal emperors were defeated by Su Fang. Heavenly Lord Xian Shu and the Dead Lord were examples. There was no risk in going to the Emperor Land of Emperor Ning's mansion, even if there was a killing star above his head. Su Fang looked at true Lord Lang Xiao and the million cultivators of the righteous faction. Everyone felt a chill down their spines. They were afraid that Su Fang would settle the score with them later. True Lord Lang Xiao was even trembling. He didn't help Su Fang when he was in danger. With Su Fang's ruthless character and his absolute strength, even the Rin Jian Manor wouldn't be able to escape. Let's go to the Emperor land of Emperor Ning's mansion, Su Fang said coldly and ignored everyone. He put Xuanxin Fairy, the immortal demon monster, and the newly recruited Black Hawk Demon Emperor and Withered Rong deity into the Zhenlong realm. They had consumed a lot of energy in this battle. After entering the Emperor land, there would be another great battle waiting for them. They had to hurry up and recover in order to face an even fiercer battle. Su Fang was alone, with a strange and eerie blood-red killing star hanging above his head, as he headed straight for the depths of the immortal Ao Great World. From now on, who in this deity realm can stop him? An overlord had risen. Who could stop him? Looking at Su Fang's back, true Lord Lang Xiao and the million cultivators of the righteous faction were in awe. True Lord Lang Xiao was secretly regretting. If he knew this would happen, why didn't he help Su Fang when he was in danger? On the surface, the Renjian manor was shouting the word, justice, loudly, but in fact they were the best at judging the situation and changing the rudder according to the wind. This time, why did they hesitate at the crucial moment? They missed a good opportunity. True Lord Lang Xiao regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. After thinking for a while, True Lord Lang Xiao shouted to the cultivators of the righteous faction, "Everyone has seen it. I advise you not to have any unrealistic thoughts. Those who offended Emperor Su, you'd better think of a way to make up for it. In addition, the world is changing. Demons and resurrected cultivators are threatening the immortal Tao. At this moment of life and death, we need a peerless figure to lead the righteous faction. I think Emperor Su is the best candidate. He will lead the Renjian manor to respond to Emperor Su and fight against the demons. You'd better make up your mind." The giants of the forces from the 8 great worlds were in deep thought. The news that Su Fangda defeated the Wolf Fang mercenaries and subdued the Black Hawk Demon Monarch and Withered Immortal spread quickly in the immortal realm. The Wolf Fang mercenaries returned in defeat. They lost all their elites and 2 leaders? The Black Hawk Demon Monarch. Is he the one who has existed for millions of years in the barren immortal realm? The Cloud Thunder Eagle? He was subdued by Su Fang? The Wolf Fang mercenaries was the biggest mercenary group in the immortal realm. The Black Hawk Demon Monarch was a peerless big goblin that had existed for millions of years. Withered Immortal was also subdued by Su Fang. Although many people didn't know who he was a peerless expert who was 1 step away from the 8 Paths Saint immortal realm. He was stronger than Tranquility Emperor and was definitely one of the top experts in the immortal realm. The shocking news completely dispelled everyone's thoughts. Although the ultimate reward of the Grand Star Hall was good, one had to be alive to take it. For a moment, the ultimate reward of the Grand Star Hall, the Bloody Starkiller mission, had reached a point where no one dared to take it. This had never happened in the history of the Grand Star Hall. It was tantamount to a loud slap on the face of the Grand Star Hall. With the Bloody Starkiller mission, the Grand Star Hall once again boosted the reputation of Su Fang. The name of Emperor Su shocked the 8 great worlds. In the immortal realm of the heavenly Tao. Su Fang. Su Fang. Immortal Emperor Tian Ong and Huang Lingyao felt as if a mountain was pressing on their hearts after receiving the news. Even Lord of Heaven Xian Shu, a peak immortal emperor from the Heavenly Mandate Haotsong sect, was speechless for a long time. It wouldn't be easy for the Heavenly Mandate Haotsong sect to control the immortal realm. I didn't expect that the Bloody Starkiller mission of the Grand Star Hall would fail. Su Fang. If we don't get rid of him, Emperor Ning's mansion will be destroyed by him. In a palace deep in the Emperor land of Emperor Ning's mansion, Emperor Ning was gnashing his teeth. The dead king smiled evilly. I've already set up a fatal trap in the Emperor land. As long as Su Fang is not a venerable immortal, he can't escape death. Why should you be angry for a dying man? Emperor Ning said in a gloomy voice, according to your plan, even if Su Fang is killed, Emperor Ning's mansion will be turned into a wasteland and be completely removed from the immortal realm. The dead king said, as long as you're alive, You can rebuild Emperor Ning's mansion anywhere. That's right. I'm Emperor Ning's mansion. If I'm dead, there's no need for Emperor Ning's mansion to exist. As long as I'm alive, I don't care what happens. 3 years later, a huge ball of light that was emitting a faint blood-red light was moving quickly in the immortal Ao Great World. Beneath the bloody light-killing star, Su Fong took a step forward and crossed a distance of 100 miles. He looked calm, but there was an irresistible domineering aura and a lofty feeling that he could do whatever he wanted in the vast world. Behind Su Fong, there were many experts from the 8 forces who came to inquire about the news. Emperor Su's attack on Emperor Ning's mansion was a big event that would change the pattern of the immortal realm. No one knew how many people were watching. Seeing this scene, everyone was full of awe. With the bloody Starkiller mission of the Grand Star Hall above his head, he walked calmly in Emperor Ning's mansion, which was famous in the immortal realm. No one dared to stop him. How many people in the immortal realm could be so domineering and lofty? A material floating in the sky above the immortal Ao Big World appeared in their sight. The Emperor Land of Emperor Ning's mansion. On the Emperor's land, covered by the bounded domain, there were lush forests and abundant immortal qi. Countless palaces and buildings were magnificent and magnificent. However, at this moment, the once prosperous Emperor Ning's mansion was dead silent. On the streets and in the sky, there were no cultivators or mortals. Even the servants of Emperor Ning's mansion, who were usually arrogant, were nowhere to be seen. That was because Emperor Su was here. Swish! Su Fong was about to cross the sky and enter the Emperor's land. Suddenly, he raised his eyebrows and a shocking tribulation qi burst out from his body. Turned out that he was about to break through the peak of the 7th Dao realm and advance to the 8th Dao realm. This breakthrough was not unexpected. Previously, Su Fong had swallowed the King-grade elixir and then more than 100 realm immortals of the Wolf Fong mercenary team. After this fusion, it was natural for him to advance to the 8th Dao realm. Su Fong found a random mountain and sat down. Suddenly, the voice of the Black Hawk Demon Monarch came from his body. Su Fong. No, Master, let me out. I'm going to pass the tribulation. What a coincidence! Su Fong was shocked. He did not expect that the Black Hawk Demon Monarch was about to break through when he was advancing to the 8th Dao realm. The big goblin was different from immortals. From Demon Immortal to Demon Royal and Demon Monarch, they had to pass the terrifying 9 lightning tribulations. 9 out of 10 of them would die during each tribulation. At the Demon Monarch realm, they had to go through 9 tribulations, each more powerful than the last. The Thunder Hawk Demon Monarch had been shackled at the peak of the 6th Dao realm for millions of years. It had been suppressing its demon qi because it was worried that it would die during the tribulation. Because Su Fong had the Thunder Punishment Cauldron, the Thunder Hawk Demon Monarch no longer suppressed its demon qi. In the past few years, it had reached the peak with the help of the Yin-Yang Immortal Sky Elixir and arrived outside Emperor Ning's mansion. When Su Fong advanced to the 8th Dao realm, it was finally going to pass the tribulation. He let out the Black Hawk Demon Monarch, the Immortal Demon Monarch, Dugu Mujian, and Withered Rong Immortal. Seeing Su Fong's tribulation qi and outside Emperor Ning's mansion, the Black Hawk Demon Monarch was shocked. Even in Emperor Ning's mansion, Master is going to break through? Then what should I do? Why don't I suppress it for a while longer and wait for Master to break through and leave this place before undergoing the tribulation? Download address, mobile reading, bibliographic review. Chapter 1394. At this time, tribulation clouds were surging in the sky. A big goblin thunder tribulation was brewing. It doesn't matter. Just outside the Emperor's land. I'll help you get through the tribulation after I advance. Just focus on getting through the tribulation. As for other things, don't worry about them. Su Fong said lightly, but there was a kind of domineering aura that looked down upon all the experts in the world. Emperor Ning's mansion had been famous in the Xianao world and even in the immortal land for millions of years. The emperor's land was the center of Emperor Ning's mansion, where he lived and cultivated. At this time, Su Fang was going to advance to the 8th Dao realm under Emperor Ning's nose and help a peerless demon emperor to get through the tribulation. He didn't care about Emperor Ning and all the experts in his mansion. How domineering and arrogant he was. Rolling tribulation clouds covered the sky and a horrible thunder tribulation storm was brewing. A kind of aura of thunder punishment covered the sky and the earth. The supreme heavenly might frightened everything in the world. At the same time, puff, tribulation chi burst out from Su Fang's body and turned into tribulation fire, burning all over his body and turning him into a flaming man in an instant. Under the burning state, his body began to welcome the power of advancement. Layers of impurities seeped out of his body and were burned away by the tribulation fire. Su Fang sat there like a mountain, letting the power of advancement hit his body. The great pain didn't make him move at all. The Black Hawk demon monarch looked up at the sky with fear in his eyes. Facing the thunder tribulation of Heaven Wei, if he succeeded, he would be transformed. If he failed, he would be turned into ashes. However, the success rate was less than 1%. How could Black Eagle Demon Emperor not be afraid? Su Fang's voice was heard from the tribulation fire. It was trembling because of the pain, but it was firm. Black Eagle Demon Emperor, are you afraid? If you don't have the determination to go against heaven, how can you break through the shackles of Heaven Wei? Black Eagle Demon Emperor gritted his teeth and turned into a huge demon body of 2,000 feet. He roared and rushed to the sky. Emperor Su is going to advance to the 8th Dao realm? It's said that Black Eagle Demon Emperor has suppressed his demon aura for millions of years. Now he's going to get through the tribulation. What an arrogant Emperor Su! How dare he ignore Emperor Ning? Seeing this scene, the cultivators who came from various forces to inquire about the news and the powerhouses who secretly observed Su Fang's every move were all dumbfounded and shocked. The powerhouses of Emperor Ning's mansion, however, were full of anger and humiliation. How long had Su Fang been cultivating? How long had it been since he ascended to the world immortal 8th Dao realm? With such a terrifying rate of improvement, how could those self-proclaimed geniuses, and even the once famous 10 great young masters, endure? Black Hawk Beast Monarch had been stuck at the pinnacle of the Six Paths realm for millions of years and had only been subdued by Su Fang for a few years. Now, he was about to undergo the tribulation. How could people not be shocked? Outside the Emperor's land, the man and the beast were leveling up and going through their tribulations without any hesitation. They were treating Emperor Ning's mansion as if it was nothing. How domineering! How arrogant! For Emperor Ning's mansion, it was undoubtedly an undisguised humiliation and a slap in the face. Su Fang, you've gone too far. With the help of the world origin of Emperor Ning's mansion, Emperor Ning, who was hiding in the depths of the Emperor's land, saw every move of Su Fang clearly. Such an arrogant move made Emperor Ning so angry that he almost spat out blood. No wonder he's the descendant of the Netherworld. He acts exactly like the Netherworld, wild and overbearing. Besides, he has the great luck that the Netherworld doesn't have. What a pity, he's the same as the Netherworld. He wants to reverse the way of heaven and become my enemy. He can't escape the fate of being a genius. The undead king was surprised, and his gray eyes exuded a ghastly chill. You've pissed me off. You've gone too far. I swear I'll kill you, Emperor Ning said ferociously, losing his usual calmness. Su Fang's subordinates are waiting for you to walk out of the Emperor's land and kill you. Why don't you have a try? The undead king sneered. Of course, Emperor Ning knew what was waiting for him after he walked out of the Emperor's land. But he just said that to vent his anger. He didn't dare to do it. Tranquility Emperor was humiliated in front of his own eyes, but he had no choice but to swallow the insult. So, he gave out an order in a humiliating way: don't act rashly. Close the boundary of Emperor's soil. In the bustling streets of the Emperor's land, there was a large group of buildings, which were full of the aura of wealth. It was the branch of Grand Star Hall in Emperor Ning's mansion. Its scale was second only to the headquarters in the King City of the Heavenly Law Immortal Realm. Madame Fanghua and the cold-looking man, as well as the seniors of the branch of Emperor Ning's mansion, gathered together. They were all worried as if they were facing a disaster. If he had known this, he wouldn't have offended Su Fong for the Yin-Yang Immortal Sky Pellet. The bloody star-killing mission of Grand Star Hall has become a joke in the Immortal Land. Now Su Fong is at the door. How can he let go of Grand Star Hall so easily? Among the seniors, someone said with dissatisfaction, "The Yin-Yang Immortal Sky Pellet is very important. It is not only the headquarters of the King City of the Heavenly Law Immortal Realm, but also the intention of the seniors of Grand Star Hall. Who dares to disobey?" The cold-looking man said indifferently, "Madam, didn't you get the prescription of the Yin-Yang Immortal Sky Pellet last time? Why don't you release Wang Yuzhen and eliminate the bloody star-killing mission for Su Fong? Things are not irreversible equals, N_1. Madame Fanghua showed a helpless and angry look. The prescription of the Yin-Yang Immortal Sky Pellet is indeed in our hands, and there is no problem. But even the top alchemist in the macro world can't refine the Yin-Yang Immortal Sky Pellet. Why? The most important thing to refine the Yin-Yang Immortal Sky Pellet is a strange power called the power of the world of Yin and Yang. Not to mention the alchemist, even the seniors of Grand Star Hall have never heard of anyone who has such a strange power. Does Su Fong have this power to refine the Yin-Yang Immortal Sky Pellet? No wonder he handed over the prescription so generously. It turns out that he has a backup plan. Hateful, Su Fong is really cunning. Madame Fanghua then said, and Wang Yuzhen has been handed over to Tranquility Emperor. It is impossible for Grand Star Hall to bow to a person or a force. Tianming Haotsong sect can't do it. What qualifications does Su Fong have? At most, he can only be the overlord of this immortal domain. Does he really dare to uproot Grand Star Hall from this immortal domain as he said? The cold man said with a cold voice full of killing intent, as long as he dares to come to Grand Star Hall, ask for the treasure of the hall and kill him. The seniors in the hall were all shocked. Ask for the treasure of the hall? That will alarm the seniors of Grand Star Hall. Madame Fanghua said decisively, now, this is the only way. After more than 10 days, outside the Emperor Land, rumble. Above the sky, the tribulation clouds were rolling and brewing the monstrous thunder. It condensed into thunderbolts with the power of the punishment of the heavenly Tao. It was also surrounded by the black flames of tribulation. It rushed down horribly. The whole Emperor Land was trembling under the power of the heavenly Tao. The cultivators and people of Tranquility Emperor's mansion in the Emperor Land were all trembling, as if these thunderbolts were targeted at them. At this time, Black Hawk Demon Monarch had passed through 8 thunderbolts. He was waiting for the last one, which was the most horrifying one. I can't pass the last thunderbolts. The Black Eagle Demon Monarch's body was originally covered in black feathers, but most of them were destroyed by the destructive power of the thunder tribulation, revealing his damaged body. His body was full of wounds caused by the heavenly tribulation. It was a ghastly sight. It was impossible for him to pass the last thunderbolts in such a state. At this time, a surge of Realm Immortal 8th Tao Realm aura rolled out from Su Fong's body and swept in all directions. It attracted the natural spirit chi of heaven and earth within 5,000 miles and rushed to Su Fong. Su Fong's divine aperture, golden core origin, dantian and body all condensed Tao mark. He broke through the peak of the 7th Tao Realm and reached the 8th Tao Realm. Realm Immortal 8th Tao Realm. One more step and he would be able to reach the Saint Immortal Realm and become one of the peerless experts in the great world. Su Fang was extremely excited. He continued to sit cross-legged and swallow elixirs. He absorbed the natural spirit qi to stabilize the 8th Tao realm. 3 days later equals N_R. Kacha, a thunderbolt, surrounded by thunderbolts and flames, roared out from the tribulation clouds like a heavenly dragon and rushed toward Black Hawk Demon Monarch. Black Hawk Demon Monarch, let me help you. Su Fang suddenly opened his eyes. He took a step forward and arrived above Black Hawk Demon Monarch. He activated all the thunder punishment energy in his body, including the thunder attribute energy in his yang meridian. Faint purple-gold thunderbolts flashed in his eyes. Shocking thunderbolts also flowed around his body, making him look like a thunder god. Come on! Su Fang let out a domineering roar and flew toward the thunderbolts with a wild aura that looked down on the heavens. He's not using the thunder punishment cauldron. Is he crazy? Even I, a demon monarch born with the thunder attribute energy, can't resist the power of the thunderbolt. He's planning to resist the thunderbolts with his body. Isn't he afraid of being turned into ashes by the thunderbolts? Black Hawk was completely dumbfounded and fell into despair. Rumble! Like a divine dragon, the lightning tribulation bombarded Su Fang's body, causing his body to sink. There were a total of 9 thunderbolts in the 9th tribulation. Although the thunderbolts and thunderbolts from the first tribulation weren't the most powerful, they were at least equivalent to the attack of an 8th Tao realm expert. When they collided with Su Fang's body, they collapsed. Thunderbolts and thunderbolts danced in the sky. Su Fang didn't activate any defensive divine ability in the sea of thunderbolts and thunderbolt. He allowed the power of the thunderbolts to rush into his body and cleanse it. After reaching the 8th Tao realm, layers of impurities were forced out by the power of the thunderbolt. At the same time, in his flesh and meridians, there were traces of thunderbolts that merged with the thunder punishment energy in Su Fang's body. At the same time, Su Fang guided the Heaven and Earth Tao Palace to use the thunderbolts to attack the Yang Meridian. In an instant, the entire Heaven and Earth Tao Palace shook and was filled with the majestic thunder attribute energy of the Heavenly Tao. Su Fang's Yang Meridian was also a thunder meridian. The thunderbolts he absorbed were quickly merged with his own Yang Qi and the thunder punishment energy. Then, he drove this energy through the world seed and swept through the 35 Yang meridians, turning it into an impact force and attacking the 36th meridian. Looking from the side, Su Fang was completely submerged in thunderbolts and thunderbolt. However, he wasn't destroyed. Instead, he became a part of it and swam freely in it. Is he still a human being? Does he also have the real body of a divine bird like his Taoist companion? Does he need to bathe in thunderbolts and thunderbolts to be reborn? Black Hawk Demon Emperor was stunned and even forgot that he was going through a tribulation. How could there be such an arrogant and overbearing way of going through a tribulation? The practitioners watching from afar, including the experts from Emperor Tranquility's mansion who had been paying attention to what was going on in the Emperor Land, were shocked when they saw Su Fang and Black Hawk Demon Emperor enjoying themselves in the thunderbolts. They looked at them as if they were looking at two monsters. Some experts from Emperor Tranquility's mansion who had planned to launch a sneak attack when Su Fang had just broken through and Black Hawk Demon Emperor was going through a tribulation gave up the idea completely. What are you waiting for? Why don't you use the thunder punishment energy to cleanse your marrow? Su Fang shouted. Black Hawk Demon Emperor seemed to have just woken up. He let out an excited howl and rushed into the thunderbolts and thunderbolt. =R download address. Mobile reading, bibliographic review. Chapter 1395. The power of heavenly thunder tribulation contained the terrifying power of the heavenly Tao's punishment. While it contained the power of destruction, it also contained the power of life. Thus, to the big goblin, crossing tribulation was both a disaster and an opportunity bestowed by the heavenly Tao. The power of the first thunder tribulation was defeated by Su Fang, turning into thunder and thunder fire. This was perfect for the Thunder Hawk Monster Emperor to absorb into his monster body and use to wash his marrow, transform, and advance. The second and third bolts of heavenly thunder were fiercer than the last. Su Fang used the same method to break apart the heavenly thunder, and then used the thunder and thunder fire to wash his body and cultivate his thunder veins. At the same time, the Black Hawk Monster Emperor also borrowed the power of Thunder Tribulation to advance. The Thunder Tribulation that caused the Big Goblin's complexion to pale was easily resolved by Su Fang. The Black Hawk Monster Emperor simply found this unbelievable. The fourth bolt of heavenly thunder became even more wild and fierce. Su Fang defied the heavens once more. This time, he didn't collide with it with his mortal body. Instead, he erupted with a thunderous divine might that was similar to that of Thunder Tribulation. Beneath Su Fang's thunderous divine might, the ferocious heavenly thunder suddenly became docile. Go! Su Fang lifted a finger and a bolt of thunder shot towards the enchantment above the Emperor's soil. Thunder Tribulation represented the will of the heavenly Tao. It was not some ordinary power of nature. There were no thunder arts that could control this heavenly thunder. When an ordinary cultivator or big goblin faced this heavenly thunder, they would tremble with fear. They would grit their teeth and resist it, much less try to control it. Su Fang's thunderous divine might was actually able to control heavenly thunder. Why was this? In Demon Dawn Fortress, Su Fang had been struck by the thunder punishment furnace and his mortal body had been reborn. At the same time, he had also gained the ability to control thunder. After all these years of constant cultivation, and especially after his harvests in Thunderfall Abyss, his thunder punishment true body had begun to take elementary form, possessing the divine might of the heavenly Tao's thunder tribulation. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Thunder violently smashed into the enchantment. With such might, it wasn't inferior to the all-out strike of a 7 Tao Saint Realm Immortal Emperor powerhouse that had grasped peerless thunder arts. There was an earth-shattering explosion. Thunder and lightning soared to the sky. Fortunately, the boundary of Emperor Tranquility's mansion was extremely solid. It couldn't be broken by a single stroke of tribulation thunder. Those cultivators of Emperor Tranquility's mansion, who were spying on the Su Fang through the bounded domain with their divine skills or special Taoist artifacts, were in big trouble. The heavenly thunder not only contained violent energy, but also contained the will of thunder punishment of the heavenly Tao. Immediately, they spat out blood and their primordial spirits were damaged to varying degrees. Some young immortals were even directly destroyed by the will of thunder punishment. Even Tranquility Emperor, who had been paying attention to Su Fang's every move with the help of the world origin of Tranquility Emperor's mansion, had one of his primordial spirit destroyed by the sky thunder. His primordial spirit was injured, and he was shocked and furious. Everyone in the sovereign land trembled with fear. The remaining tribulation lightning was controlled by Su Fang and became much gentler. Then, it was absorbed by him and the Black Hawk Demon Monarch. Of course, the Black Hawk Demon Monarch could only use his demon power to carefully withstand and wear down the power of the tribulation lightning that entered his body. On the other hand, Su Fang directly absorbed the power of the tribulation lightning. They were two completely different levels. 5 strikes, 6 strikes. The heavenly thunder punishment became more and more horrible. Su Fang dissolved them one by one, and he never forgot to share the power with the sovereign land. Struck by the tribulation lightning one after another, the entire Emperor Tranquility's mansion was trembling and groaning like a girl being ravaged crazily. Everyone in the sovereign land trembled with fear as if doomsday had come. It was not until the 7th strike that Su Fang took out the thunder punishment cauldron and absorbed more than half of the tribulation lightning with the help of the cauldron's ability to absorb the tribulation lightning. The 9 heavenly thunders of the 9th tribulation were dissolved by Su Fang easily. The big goblin's thunder punishment, which frightened the Black Hawk demon monarch, the big goblin, was also easily passed. When the thunder punishment dispersed, the Black Hawk demon monarch had exhausted all his strength. With the ecstasy of passing the tribulation and the serious injuries on his body, he fell to the ground from the sky. Withered Rong Immortal shot out a Xian Guang to hold him up. Then, he sat on the ground with his legs crossed and began to swallow elixirs and spiritual objects to recover and transform. It's finally over. Countless people in the sovereign land heaved a sigh of relief at the same time, as if they were the ones who were going through the tribulation instead of the Black Hawk demon monarch. Unexpectedly, at the next moment, rumble! The tribulation clouds that were about to disperse suddenly rolled violently again. It was much more terrifying than the ninth tribulation just now. A wave of majesty filled with the will of the heavenly Tao filled the space between heaven and earth. There was even a heavenly thunder brewing rapidly in the tribulation clouds. Judging from its momentum, it was almost the same as a saint immortal at the peak of the Tao realm who was going through the ninth tribulation. And the Black Hawk demon monarch who had just passed the tribulation looked at the sky in horror. His eyes were filled with shock and despair. The cultivators inside and outside the sovereign land were also dumbfounded. They had never seen such a scene before. Buzz, there was an aura in the tribulation clouds that was activating the life-shrinking technique in Su Fang's body, causing the Tao runes of destiny to surge. In an instant, Su Fang felt that there was a pair of invisible eyes staring at him from the tribulation clouds. A sense of extreme danger arose from the bottom of his heart. This heavenly thunder tribulation is targeted at me. Su Fang came to a sudden realization, and his expression became serious. Suddenly, a thunderous voice came from the blood jade in Law's body. You helped the Thunder Hawk demon monarch to pass the tribulation. You also used the divine power of thunder to control the heavenly thunder tribulation. This heavenly thunder tribulation is targeted at you. Why don't you find a way to resolve it? At this time, the tribulation clouds suddenly opened a crack, and the sky that had been covered by the clouds was lit up. At the place where the tribulation clouds parted, streaks of lightning quickly condensed into a huge purple-golden palm that was about 5 kilometers in size. The terrifying heavenly might shrouded all directions. It seemed that the entire immortal Ao great world would be smashed into pieces by this palm of thunder punishment. It's at least the heavenly thunder tribulation of a peak immortal emperor. Su Fang's eyes were full of shock. This time, he was in big trouble. Even if he activated the Xianming Thunder Seal, he might not be able to resist this heavenly thunder tribulation. Tranquility Emperor, Great Star Hall, I'll let you have a taste of the heavenly thunder tribulation. Looking at the direction of the sovereign land, Su Fang pinched the tip of his nose and snorted evilly. Suddenly, a fire cloud spurted out from his body and condensed into a pair of wings that were more than 10 feet long. He activated the fire cloud wings and rushed toward the sovereign land like lightning. He is. Withered Immortal was dumbfounded. Dugu Mujian snorted. This Emperor Su is not an ordinary ruthless person. If you offend him, just wait and see. Tranquility Emperor Mansion and Great Star Hall will be in big trouble. More than 300 feet away from the boundary of the sovereign land, Su Fang suddenly took out the demon sealing Imperial Heavenly Seal. After forming a seal, he released a Xian Guang. Qi, 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 Qi. The purple Qi Dharma spirit was almost complete. Su Fang's ability to control magic treasures had doubled. At this time, he could already activate the power of the Imperial Heavenly Seal. Although the boundary of the sovereign land was strong, it was already in danger after being bombarded by Su Fang with the power of the Heavenly Thunder Tribulation. Now, under the power of the demon sealing Imperial Heavenly Seal, a big hole was immediately broken. Whoosh! Su Fang shuttled through the hole in the boundary like a shooting star across the sky. Boom! The purple-golden giant hand formed by the heavenly thunder tribulation carried a terrifying aura that could destroy everything in the world. It arrived in a flash and bombarded the boundary with an unstoppable force. Boom, boom, boom. Outside the sovereign land, the powerful boundary that could withstand the bombardment of experts below the immortal venerable realm trembled violently and shattered layer by layer. It was as though the heavens and earth were quaking. The purple-golden giant hand was resisted by the boundary for nearly a breath's time before it collapsed with a loud bang. More than half of the giant hand of the heavenly thunder tribulation was also worn down. It was only about 3,000 feet in size. For experts, a lot of things could be done in a breath's time. Buzz, after activating the life-shrinking technique and combining it with the perfect realm of the physique, he immediately sensed two familiar auras in the most prosperous street in the sovereign land. There was an obviously different building that stood out from the rest. Great Star Hall. I can't sense Wang Yuzhen's aura. Where did the Great Star Hall hide her? A cold light flashed in Su Feng's eyes. He flew towards the familiar aura and went straight to a palace. Who are you? How dare you break into the Great Star Hall? Damn it, what is that? Experts flew out from the Great Star Hall and roared in anger. Just as they were about to attack, they saw the giant hand of the heavenly thunder tribulation behind Su Feng. They were scared out of their wits and fled in a hurry like frightened duck. Su Feng swooped into the Great Star Hall and shuttled through the buildings. The giant hand of the heavenly thunder tribulation chased after him, destroying everything along the way. The palaces, houses and other objects were instantly turned into flying ash when they were touched by the giant hand. Whoosh! Su Feng rushed into a splendid hall in the depths of the Great Star Hall. Su Feng, it's you. Madame Fanghua, the stern man and many senior members of the Great Star Hall suddenly turned pale with fright. A ruthless light flashed in Madame Fanghua's eyes. She unfolded a scroll that she had already prepared in her hand. On the scroll, there was a majestic middle-aged man formed by immortal inscriptions. He had sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. A vast aura came out from the scroll. He had reached the peak of the 9th Tao Saint immortal realm. He was no weaker than Lord of Heaven Xian Shu and the King of Death. Su Feng, how dare you come to the Great Star Hall to make trouble? The stern man shouted coldly. Just as he was about to attack, the giant hand of the heavenly thunder tribulation came out and destroyed the palace. Ah! The heavenly thunder tribulation is so terrifying. The stern man and the 3 senior members of the Great Star Hall were caught by the terrifying power of the heavenly thunder tribulation and turned into flying ash immediately. In the blink of an eye, Su Feng passed through the hall and smashed a big hole in the wall, disappearing without a trace. Damn it! Madame Fanghua cast a Dharma seal and landed on the scroll. The Xian Guang flashed, and the middle-aged man in the scroll suddenly came to life and stepped out of it. In the blink of an eye, the giant hand of the heavenly thunder tribulation carried the power of the heavenly thunder tribulation. Compared with the giant hand of the heavenly thunder tribulation, the middle-aged man was as small as an ant. However, he was like a god of war. He stretched out his palm and collided with the giant hand of the heavenly thunder tribulation. Boom! 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 The giant hand of the heavenly thunder tribulation was weakened. After the fierce collision with the middle-aged man's figure turned into ashes in the power of the heavenly thunder tribulation. The terrifying collision swept out in all directions and the hall collapsed instantly. Madame Fanghua and several lucky masters of the Great Star Hall were blown away by the violent collision. They kept spitting out blood and were seriously injured even if they didn't die. Looking at the Great Star Hall that was almost wiped out by the giant hand of the heavenly thunder tribulation, Madame Fanghua screamed with anger and despair and spat out blood from her mouth. The branch of the Great Star Hall in the Emperor Ning's mansion was completely destroyed. The aura of Emperor Ning, the King of Death, and Wang Yuzhen are all in the world origin inside the Emperor's land. Let's destroy the palace of Emperor Ning first. Su Fang pushed the wings of Fire Cloud to the extreme and flew straight to the central area of the Emperor's land. There were many magnificent palaces, which was the power center of the Emperor Ning's mansion. The giant hand of the heavenly thunder tribulation was still chasing after him. Su Fang was like a star of disaster that came to the Emperor's land. Wherever he went, the immortal buildings in the central area of the Emperor Ning's mansion turned into ashes. The masters of the Emperor Ning's mansion were swept by the terrifying heavenly thunder tribulation and died immediately before they could scream. =R download address. Mobile reading, bibliographic review. Chapter 1396. Tranquility Emperor's Town Hall? Nice place. Whoosh! Su Fang whizzed past the palace like a cloud of fire. Boom, 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 boom. The town hall, which represented the highest power in Tranquility Emperor's mansion, was turned into a pile of ashes instantly. It's catching up with me. The divine power of thunder punishment. The speed of the thunder punishment was too fast. Su Fang tried his best to fly with the wings of Fire Cloud and blocked by the buildings, but he was still caught up with by the big hand. Su Fang suddenly released a stream of divine power of thunder punishment. With the help of the ethereal primordial realm, it formed a divine power of thunder domain and stopped the big hand for a moment. Fortunately, after the continuous consumption, the big hand of thunder punishment was only 400 feet in area and its power was reduced by half. Otherwise, Su Fang couldn't resist it at all. Let's go. Su Fang flew out again. Oh, the Taoist field of Tranquility Emperor's mansion. After flying out of the palaces and over a mountain range, he saw a Taoist field in the valley. In the center of the field, there stood a statue of Tranquility Emperor, which was thousands of feet high. It was majestic, domineering, and lifelike. Su Fang swooped down like a flash of lightning and skimmed over the Taoist field. Another earth-shaking explosion and destruction occurred. More than half of the Taoist field was destroyed. The tall statue of Tranquility Emperor was also smashed into pieces by the big hand of thunder punishment. And the horrible thunder punishment was finally consumed up. Su Fang, I'm going to tear you into pieces. A roar of anger came from all directions. It was Tranquility Emperor. Since you have such an idea, why don't you come out and fight with me? Su Fang burst into laughter. He was very happy. Wait and see. I'll make you suffer. However, Tranquility Emperor just threatened Su Fang and didn't show up. Instead, he just watched Su Fang making trouble under his nose and didn't do anything to stop him from the beginning to the end. The Tranquility Emperor is actually a coward. Ha ha ha! Su Fang sneered. But he was vigilant in his heart. Tranquility Emperor must have a big conspiracy. Su Fang, don't you dare humiliate Supreme Tranquility Emperor. Heretical cultivators like you can't be so arrogant in the imperial soil. Emperor Su, although you are powerful, the people of Emperor Tranquility's mansion will fight you to the death. Evil monarch Su, I'm going to use your head to repay the lives of the 3 empires and countless creatures in Emperor Ning's mansion. With a thunderous roar, one figure after another gathered around Su Fang from all directions. Their monstrous fury almost ignited the entire emperor's soil. From the leaders of the mansion of Emperor Ning to the common people, they all believed that it was the Su Fang who controlled the resurrected cultivators and swallowed the 3 empires of the mansion of Emperor Ning. Even though Immortal Lang Shao revealed the truth and spread it to Emperor Ning's mansion, no one believed that Emperor Ning would do that. Evil Emperor Su was still the culprit. This time, the evil Su Emperor openly ascended outside the Emperor's land, and his subordinate, the Big Goblin, underwent the tribulation. Then, he led the heavenly tribulation into the Emperor's land and almost destroyed the power center of the mansion of Emperor Ning. Countless people died. Now, he even insulted Tranquility Emperor. That was unbearable. Whoosh, whoosh. The monster, Dugumujian, Withered Immortal, and Black Hawk Demon Monarch appeared beside Su Fang. In the monster's hand, there was an enchanting woman who was shackled. She was Madame Fanghua of the Great Star Hall. Black Hawk Demon Monarch looked miserable, but his eyes were shining with excitement. He was taken into the Zhenlong realm by Su Fang to recover. The appearance of Su Fang's peerless powerhouses shocked everyone. The roaring stopped abruptly. However, the eyes of hatred and anger were fixed on Su Fang. If eyes and anger could kill, Su Fang would have been killed many times and burned into ashes by anger. Su Fang's eyes emitted a cold light. He glanced at the crowd and said in a loud voice, "Tranquility Emperor regards you as ants and can sacrifice you at will. But you are still standing up for him. Isn't it ridiculous? Shut up. Don't insult the Supreme Tranquility Emperor." Someone shouted angrily again. Su Fang ignored those ignorant cultivators of Tranquility Emperor's mansion and said to the void, "Tranquility Emperor, come out and fight with me." A towering figure condensed in the void. It was the shadow of Tranquility Emperor's primordial spirit condensed by the power of the world. Su Fang. Tranquility Emperor said coldly, "I didn't expect that you would dare to come to the Emperor Land. I admire your courage. But in my opinion, it's extremely stupid. This time, the Emperor Land will be your burial place." Su Fang sneered disdainfully. "Really? Whatever means you have, just use them. I'll wait for you in the origin seal of the Emperor Land. Your senior sister apprentice Wang Yuzhen is also here. How dare you threaten me with a woman, Tranquility Emperor? Aren't you afraid of being laughed at? I've dominated this immortal land for millions of years. How can I care about others' opinions? I'll wait for you here. If you come late, I can't guarantee Wang Yuzhen's life." After saying that, Tranquility Emperor's primordial spirit disappeared in the void. Su Fang raised his eyebrows. "Tranquility Emperor lured me to the origin seal of the Emperor Ning Mansion. Does he want to suppress me with the help of the origin seal of the world?" Great Star Hall equals N_1. Looking at Madame Fanghua, Su Fang's eyes exuded coldness. "Su Fang, if you dare to destroy the branch of Great Star Hall in the Emperor Ning Mansion, the Great Star Hall will never let you go," Madame Fanghua threatened. "I've heard such nonsense for many times. Others may be afraid of your Great Star Hall, but I, Su Fang, am not. Not only the branch of Emperor Ning Mansion, but also all the branches of Great Star Hall in this immortal land and the headquarters in the King City of the Heavenly Law Immortal Land, I'll eradicate them all. I'll uproot the Great Star Hall in this immortal land." Su Fang said indifferently, as if he was talking about something that couldn't be any simpler. Then he created a formation to cover the surroundings. Then Su Fang said to the second primordial spirit in a cold voice, "Control her primordial spirit." Xiao. The second primordial spirit shot out from the eyes of the immortal devil monster and hit the glabella position of Madame Fanghua. How powerful was the second primordial spirit at this time? It was easy to control a world immortal cultivator. It easily broke through the defense of the primordial spirit Madame Fanghua's divine aperture and entered her divine aperture ocean. After a while, the second primordial spirit came out of Madame Fanghua's divine aperture. Madame Fanghua's eyes were confused for a while, but she immediately recovered and bowed to Su Fang. "Fanghua greets the master." It turned out that the second primordial spirit used the technique of Night Demon to control the consciousness of the cultivator and controlled the consciousness of Madame Fanghua. At this time, in the depths of her consciousness, she regarded Su Fang as her master. If he told her to die, she would not hesitate to execute it. The immortal devil monster had such means. Withered Rong old immortal had never heard of it before, let alone seen it. He could not help but be surprised, and was in awe of the immortal devil monster. "Madame Fanghua, what is the conspiracy of Emperor Ning Mansion using Wang Yuzhen? In addition, tell me all the inside stories of the Great Star Hall." Su Fang said in a majestic voice. "Yes, master." Madame Fanghua said a lot. To Su Fang's disappointment, in order to deal with Su Fang, Emperor Ning Mansion also paid a huge price, so Great Star Hall handed Wang Yuzhen to Emperor Ning Mansion. According to the knowledge of Madame Fanghua, Emperor Ning used Wang Yuzhen as a bait to set a trap for Su Fang in the place where the world origin was sealed in the depths of the Emperor's land. He intended to lure Su Fang into the seal and kill Su Fang with the help of the world origin of Emperor Ning's mansion. Not only that, Tranquility Emperor and the Dead King had a bigger conspiracy against Su Fang just in case. However, Madame Fanghua didn't know what kind of trap it was. From the mouth of Madame Fanghua, Su Fang also learned a lot of secrets of the Great Star Hall. Great Star Hall, the first immortal Tao Chamber of Commerce, was really huge. Its business covered the whole world, and even secretly traded with the Devil World and the Demon Race. The Grand Star Hall is a lunatic. Not only Su Fang, but also Dugu Mujian and Withered Immortal, also gnashed their teeth. The Devil Race had always been the life and death enemy of the immortal Tao. Every millions of years there would be a war between them, and no one knew how many peerless powerhouses fell from both sides. Withered Immortal also experienced the last war between Immortal and Devil Race. Although he was still a small character at that time, he still remembered the cruelty and evil of the Devil Race. Dugu Mujian's beloved wife died in the hands of Nightmare Devil Emperor, so he hated the Devil Race even more. In order to make money, the Great Star Hall was even more hateful than the Devil Race. After listening to Madame Fanghua's words, the two peerless powerhouses couldn't wait to destroy the Great Star Hall. Su Fang asked again, "What is your status in the Great Star Hall? Why can you take charge of the Great Star Hall with your world immortal cultivation base?" Madame Fanghua replied in detail, "This subordinate's cultivation base is not high. Originally, I was not qualified to serve as a steward of the Emperor Ning's mansion, but I was originally a cultivation furnace of a big shot in the Great Star Hall. Because I was deeply favored by that big shot, I was sent to this immortal domain to preside over the Emperor Ning's mansion branch. In the future, I will have the opportunity to return to the Great Star Hall headquarters and assume a higher position." "So that's how it is." Madame Fanghua suddenly smiled charmingly, and then said, "If the master needs, this subordinate is willing to serve the master at any time. Although this subordinate's strength is not high, the ability to meet men is very good." Law ridiculed in the blood jade in his body. "Su Fang, this time you are blessed. When Xuanxin Fairy leaves your side, you don't have to worry about physiological problems." Cough cough, Su Fang coughed again and again. Ignoring Law, Su Fang indifferently said, "I, Su Fang, am not a lecherous person. Don't think about such thoughts in the future. Just be loyal to me. You stay in my magic treasure space for the time being. When I finish dealing with Emperor Ning, you can return to the Great Star Hall in the Immortal Domain and wait for the opportunity to move. If you can enter the headquarters, it will be best." Madame Fanghua was taken into the Zhenlong world. The Great Star Hall was so powerful that Su Fang had to prepare in advance. Maybe this Madame Fanghua could play a role in the future. Next, it was to think about how to rescue Wang Yuzhen. Withered Immortal urged the power of perception, suddenly raised his eyebrows and said, "I am afraid that the conspiracy of Emperor Ning is not small." Su Fang frowned and asked, "Withered Immortal, what did you find?" Withered Immortal looked dignified and said, "The original aura of Emperor Ning's mansion is very strange. There is a faint death aura in it." "Is there such a thing?" Su Fang was surprised. He didn't sense any abnormality with his full circle ability, but Withered Immortal sensed it. There was nothing strange about it. Withered Immortal cultivated the great Tao of Wither of the Wood attribute and reversed the power of life, which was somewhat similar to the great Tao of death. Moreover, his cultivation had reached the peak of the 7 paths of Saint Immortal Realm, so he was naturally very sensitive to the death aura. Buzz Su Fang urged the life shrinking technique, and at the same time urged the full circle ability to the extreme. The next moment, Su Fang's eyes revealed a shocked color. The death aura mentioned by Withered Immortal had the aura of the King of the Dead and the peerless Taoist weapon sky-hiding nether coffin. This death aura was integrated in the whole world. The whole Emperor's land and all the cultivators, people, mountains, forests and other things that grew in the territory of Emperor Ning's mansion and cultivated with the help of the world origin of Emperor Ning's mansion contained this death aura. =_our download address. Mobile reading, bibliography. Chapter 1397. What does Tranquility Emperor want to do? Su Fang frowned. Although he didn't know what Tranquility Emperor wanted to do, he knew that Tranquility Emperor and the Undead King must be plotting something. Withered Immortal tried to persuade him. Su Fang, Tranquility Emperor has been famous for millions of years, and his mansion has been standing in this immortal land for millions of years. Now there is a resurrected immortal whose strength is equal to the peak of Immortal Emperor, and we are in Tranquility Emperor's mansion. The situation is very unfavorable for us. Why don't we leave Tranquility Emperor's mansion for the time being? We must save Wang Yuzhen. You are a peerless figure who is going to reach the peak of the big world. It's not worth it to take such a big risk for a woman. No. Su Fang said without hesitation. Wang Yuzhen is my subordinate. If I don't save her, won't all my subordinates be bitterly disappointed? I, Su Fang, am cruel and merciless, but that's only for enemies. I can't leave my subordinates to die. What's more, Wang Yuzhen is my senior sister and friend. When I was in Demon Dawn Fortress, I promised her sister that I would protect her. How can I break my promise? If a cultivator breaks his promise, it will affect his Taoist heart. What's more, now that we have come to Tranquility Emperor's mansion, how can we shrink back? If we shrink back, what kind of cultivator are we? Even if Tranquility Emperor and the Undead King have a big conspiracy, how can they scare me, Su Fang? His voice was arrogant and domineering, which shocked Withered Immortal and Dugu Mujian. They looked at Su Fang again. Tranquility Emperor wants to lure me to the place where the world origin of Tranquility Emperor's mansion is sealed. He wants to use the world origin to kill me. How can I let him do that? Now that he is a coward, I'll drag him out together with his nest. Su Fang's cold smile equals N_1. After removing the formation, Su Fang looked down at Tranquility Emperor's mansion and said in a domineering voice, Tranquility Emperor, get out. His voice echoed in Tranquility Emperor's mansion. Then, Su Fang activated the ethereal myriad Dao to communicate with the world of Tranquility Emperor's mansion. A moment later, the entire Emperor's land, and even the other 9 empires in the Emperor Ning's mansion, except for the 3 empires that the Undead King had devoured, suddenly shook the earth and the mountains. The entire world was shaking. Not only that, but the entire immortal Ao Great World was also shaken. The void galaxy around the Great World was distorted. What kind of divine sense is this? How could it cause such a great disturbance in the still world of Emperor Ning's mansion? Old Immortal Withered Rong and Dugu Mujian were shocked. Such a divine ability was simply heaven-defying. Old Immortal Withered Rong suddenly recalled the legend and some rumors about the Su Fang. He exclaimed, "This is the ethereal spiritual master's ethereal enlightenment divine ability. Legend has it that this divine ability can awaken the world's origin and even steal an immortal realm. The legend is actually true." Exactly. It's a divine ability of the Misty Quintessence, and it's called the Misty Myriad Laws Dao. It's capable of awakening the quintessence of a world and controlling an immortal dimension. Emperor Ning also obtained this divine ability from the constellation of 9 heavens, Su Fang said. Ethereal spiritual master? What a miraculous and powerful divine ability. Old Immortal Withered Rong's eyes were filled with shock. Dugu Mujian said, "You and I don't want to be the lord of the immortal dimension. Although this divine ability is miraculous, it's not very useful to us." Su Fang continued, I've also comprehended another divine ability from the ethereal enlightenment divine ability, and it's called the ethereal primordial realm. It's capable of transforming between virtual and real in the void and condensing real material stars. It's amazingly useful for Saint Immortal Realm experts to create their own space. Dugumujian and Old Immortal Withered Rong's eyes flickered. Such a divine ability was unimaginably useful for Saint Immortal Realm experts like them. If they used this divine ability together with their own space, their combat strength would definitely skyrocket. However, such a peerless divine ability was as precious as a cultivator's life. Who would easily give it away? I'll hand over the ethereal enlightenment divine ability, the ethereal myriad law Tao, and the ethereal primordial realm to you to cultivate. Especially the ethereal primordial realm. Mastering this divine ability will definitely increase the power of your withered space and Dugumujian's sword intent space. It should be 2 or 3 times more powerful. Such a divine ability, you're actually going to hand it over to outsiders to cultivate. Old Immortal Withered Rong's face was filled with disbelief. Dugumujian also looked at Su Fang in disbelief. You're not outsiders. Besides, I, Su Fang, am not a selfish person. Old Immortal Withered Rong's old face was flushed with excitement. He was filled with admiration and gratitude for Su Fang. He was completely loyal to Su Fang. Even Dugumujian, a proud and pedantic person, was shocked by Su Fang's decision and was overjoyed. While communicating with Old Immortal Withered Rong and Dugumujian, Su Fang was not idle. He kept activating the divine ability of the ethereal primordial realm and the power of the world seed. The movements in the territory of Emperor Land and Emperor Ning's mansion were getting louder and louder. The people in Emperor Land were also shocked by Su Fang's divine ability. They were in despair and panic. Evil Emperor Su was so powerful. Emperor Ning's mansion was doomed to be destroyed this time. Su Fang, how dare you plunder the world origin of Emperor Ning's mansion in front of me? Emperor Ning's thunderous roar was filled with shock and anger from the depths of Emperor Land. I'm going to plunder the world origin from you by force. What can you do about it? Su Fang smiled coldly. An overlord's chi power arose spontaneously. I've fused with the world origin of Emperor Ning's mansion for millions of years. I've also cultivated the tyrannical emperor soaring the sky technique. My ability to control the world origin is far superior to that of an ordinary immortal realm lord. Besides, I've also cultivated the divine ability of the ethereal enlightenment. Do you think I, a saint immortal of the 7 Tao realm, am inferior to you, a puny realm immortal? Emperor Ning sneered. Immediately, he activated the tyrannical emperor soaring the sky spell to control the power of the world. At the same time, he cooperated with the ethereal myriad laws Tao to suppress the world origin of Emperor Ning's mansion that was awakened by Su Fang. The broken world seal also began to recover. Unfortunately, I've also cultivated the tyrannical emperor soaring the sky spell. And my comprehension of the ethereal myriad laws Tao is much better than yours. Let's see how I'm going to take the world origin of Emperor Ning's mansion from you. Su Fang smiled domineeringly. He activated the power of the world seed, ran the ethereal genuine chi, and the Emperor's chi with the purple chi dharma spirit to form an amazing divine ability. All of a sudden, it burst out. Rumble. Crack. Crack. Boom. 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 Then, the sound of the world seal breaking came from the depths of Emperor Land. Bright stars formed by the essence of the world origin converged into a deep Milky Way. They soared into the sky from Emperor Land and floated in the air. An incomparably magnificent picture scroll appeared in the sky above Emperor Land. Su Fang forcibly suppressed Tranquility Emperor's control power, and then let the world origin break through the world seal, leaving Emperor Land and showing up in front of everyone. That's impossible. How could you do that? Tranquility Emperor's figure appeared beside the Milky Way where the world origin converged and said in disbelief. Su Fong sneered at him. Why is it impossible? Your ethereal myriad laws Tao was created by me. You can only understand a little bit of it at most. And I've devoured your tyrannical emperor's true body. So, the tyrannical emperor soaring the sky spell's ability to control the world origin of Emperor Ning's mansion is not weaker than yours. Speaking of which, I have to thank you. I've been an immortal emperor for millions of years, but my understanding of divine ability is not as good as yours, and my tyrannical emperor's doppelganger Su Fong continued. More importantly, although you've fused with the world origin of Emperor Ning's mansion for millions of years, you've only fused with a part of the world origin and cultivated with the help of the world force. But my ethereal enlightenment has completely communicated with the world origin and gained its approval. Then, I've completely awakened it and controlled it. How could you compare the two of them? You're pissing me off. Tranquility Emperor was both angry and resentful. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood like a fountain. World Origin, come here. Su Fong urged the World Origin to control the World Origin again. The Milky Way scroll formed by the stars was slowly moving towards Su Fong. All of a sudden, in the Milky Way formed by the World Origin, a stream of death chi suddenly burst out, which aroused the evil power released by Xie Yang between heaven and earth. The Milky Way formed by the World Origin was quickly covered with a layer of death chi, which made Su Fong lose control of the World Origin. Undead King. Su Fong's heart suddenly sank. Undead King, you've controlled the World Origin of Emperor Ning's mansion with the sky-shrouding nether coffin? The Undead King's gloomy voice came out. Yes. Before that, I've already controlled the world origin of Emperor Ning's mansion with the sky-shrouding nether coffin and concealed the aura of the sky-shrouding nether coffin. No one could sense it at all. I planned to lure you into the world seal and kill you by surprise. But I didn't expect that you've awakened the world origin and made it break the world seal. Even Tranquility Emperor couldn't stop it. No wonder he had sensed the death chi covering the territory of Emperor Ning's mansion and all the cultivators and creatures. So this was the reason. If Su Fong hadn't awakened the world origin with the ethereal way of all arts, the Undead King and Tranquility Emperor could have killed Su Fong easily with the help of the world seal and the sky-shrouding nether coffin. What shocked Su Fong more was that the Undead King had controlled the world origin of Emperor Ning's mansion. If so, the entire Emperor Ning's mansion, as well as all the cultivators, civilians and creatures, would be doomed. The Undead King continued, Tranquility Emperor, you're really useless. No wonder you've been defeated by Su Fong. Being ridiculed by the Undead King, Tranquility Emperor couldn't help spitting out another mouthful of blood. Whoosh, a dark coffin slid out from the Star River. It was the sky-shrouding nether coffin, the Undead King's peerless Taoist instrument. Two figures were standing on the coffin. One of them was a middle-aged man in white. He was the Undead King, a former friend of the Emperor of Netherworld and a resurrected immortal. After being severely injured by Su Fong with the Xianming Thunder Scroll, the Undead King looked much older. He was covered with a layer of death chi and his aura was only at the level of an ordinary ninth Dao Saint immortal. The other figure was a woman. Although she wasn't extremely beautiful, she was still a beauty. But at this moment, her face was pale. Who else could it be but Wang Yuzhen? Su Fong, Wang Yuzhen looked like a weeping pear blossom. She was first controlled by the masters of the Hongxing Hall. Then she fell into the hands of Su Fong's mortal enemy, Tranquility Emperor and the powerful Undead King. She thought she couldn't escape death this time. She used to fantasize that Su Fong would come to save her. But it was just a fantasy. For Su Fong, she was nothing. Her ability to do business was useful to Su Fong. But Su Fong's Chamber of Commerce was suppressed by the Hongxing Hall again and again. So, she couldn't be of much help to Su Fong. She thought she was of no value to Su Fong. So, why would Su Fong take the risk to save her? Unexpectedly. She really didn't expect that Su Fang would really come to the Emperor Land of Tranquility Emperor. All of a sudden, Wang Yuzhen was overwhelmed with emotions. She couldn't help but shed tears. At this moment, she wouldn't hesitate to die for Su Fang. =R download address. Mobile reading, bibliography. Chapter 1398. Wang Yuzhen's expression suddenly changed. Su Fang, it's a trap. Leave now. How can I leave empty-handed without saving senior sister? As for the trap you mentioned, of course I know it. It would be strange if there was no trap, considering how despicable and vicious Tranquility Emperor is. Su Fang smiled carelessly. You idiot. Why did you come when you knew there was a trap? I'm not your woman and I've failed to run the Chamber of Commerce for you. I'm of no use to you. Are you an idiot to risk your life for an incompetent subordinate like me? Wang Yuzhen showed her shrewish side and scolded Su Fang fiercely. Su Fang pinched the tip of his nose and smiled helplessly. Then, he said seriously, You're my senior sister and also my friend. Wang Yuzhen was stunned. The next moment, tears flowed out from her eyes. But she still said harshly, Su Fang, you idiot. Don't expect me to be grateful to you. Don't expect me to marry you, Tranquility Emperor sneered. Emperor Su, you're so affectionate and righteous. In order to save a woman, you're willing to risk your life. I have to admire your courage and loyalty. But in my opinion, you're extremely stupid. I'll let you, a peerless genius, die here today. Su Fang, do you dare to fight with me? Tranquility Emperor pointed at Su Fang and shouted coldly. A 7-Dao realm immortal emperor who has been famous for millions of years wants to challenge me, a realm immortal cultivator who has only cultivated for 2,000 years. Tranquility Emperor, don't you feel ashamed in front of so many people? Su Fang smiled. Emperor Su has cultivated for less than 2,000 years? A peerless genius. The evil Emperor Su is a peerless genius. Countless cultivators and people in Tranquility Emperor's mansion burst into an uproar. Humph, Tranquility Emperor snorted. But, since you want to fight, I'll fight with you, Su Fang said in a domineering way, which shocked and surprised everyone again. A world immortal actually wanted to accept the challenge of a peerless immortal emperor. What kind of courage and dominance was this? Was he just being arrogant, or did he really have something up his sleeve? My will surpasses the heavens. I want Su Fang's corporeal body to shatter and his primordial spirit to perish. This person's divine soul will definitely perish. Tyrannical Emperor's mantra. Tranquility Emperor suddenly said with a cold and majestic voice. An aura that was above the will of the heavenly Tao exploded. Not only the Emperor's land, but also the entire territory of the Emperor Ning's mansion was covered by this momentum. All of a sudden, it seemed that Tranquility Emperor had completely replaced the way of heaven. He was the supreme master of this domain, controlling the energy, the law, and even everything in the territory. His voice was like the voice of the heavenly Tao. A single word from him could determine the life and death of all living things. Every sentence would immediately become reality. If he wanted you to live, you would live. If he wanted you to die, you would die immediately. The supreme ability of the tyrannical emperor's heaven-soaring technique, the tyrannical emperor's mantra. When Tranquility Emperor performed the tyrannical emperor's mantra in the Emperor Ning's mansion, it was more than 10 times more powerful than when he fought against immortal Emperor Tian Ong in the Star Palace. If it wasn't for the fact that he was seriously injured in that great battle and had yet to recover, and that his primordial spirit was injured by the thunder tribulation today, and that he was continuously angered by Su Fang to the point that his heart was attacked by anger, his strength was once again reduced, and the power of the tyrant emperor's mantra that he displayed would be many times stronger than this. At the same time, Tranquility Emperor performed a shocking handprint, which condensed into a purple-golden palm formed by the power of the world and the will of the heavenly Tao. It was about 1,000 feet in size and slapped down on Su Fang's head, as if the hand of the heavenly Tao was slapping down on a tiny ant. Evil Emperor Su will definitely be killed by Tranquility Emperor. The whole Emperor's land was filled with earth-shaking cheers. If I want to live, the heavenly Tao won't stop me. Divine Secret Life Shortening Skill. Su Fang operated the Divine Secret Life Shortening Skill and kept chanting the essence of the Great Tao with his primordial spirit. The surging Tao aura of the void rolled out from the ocean of divine aperture. Swish, 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 swish. The power of the mantra that covered the area was burned and broken into nothingness like snow under the scorching sun. When the huge palm formed by the tyrannical emperor's mantra was about 100 feet away from Su Fang's head, the will of the heavenly Tao was incinerated as soon as it touched the ethereal Tao of destiny. The huge palm lost its power at once and collapsed into Xian Guang, which drifted in the air. Su Fang's forehead was covered with sweat and his face was a bit pale. He had consumed some of his vitality to operate the Divine Secret Life Shortening Skill, but it was still bearable. The Divine Secret Life Shortening Skill was broken. Tranquility Emperor's majestic momentum suddenly became weak and his face turned pale. What kind of Divine Secret Life Shortening Skill is this? It can even dissolve the tyrannical Emperor's mantra? The undead king was shocked. If Tranquility Emperor performed the tyrannical Emperor's mantra in the world of Tranquility Emperor's mansion, even the undead king, who was equal to the peak of the immortal Emperor, would be afraid of it. Even if he could dissolve it, he would have to pay a heavy price. However, such a peerless Divine Secret Life Shortening Skill was easily dissolved by Su Fang, who seemed to be unscathed. How could it not be shocking? Su Fang, I've always regarded you as a formidable enemy, but I still underestimated you. Let me show you my peerless Divine Secret Life Shortening Tyrant Body. Tranquility Emperor emitted a stream of Emperor's will. His body was glowing with golden light and the force of the world was gathering towards him rapidly. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Tranquility Emperor's figure split into 7 golden giants, each of which was over 1,000 feet high. The aura of each of them was at the level of 5 Tao realm of Saint Immortal. Their explosive momentum seemed to be able to punch a big hole in the sky. Su Fang had seen Lin Yihan perform this skill before. Now, the Ling Tian tyrant body performed by Tranquility Emperor was more than 100 times more powerful than that of Lin Yihan. If Tranquility Emperor was in his peak state, the 7 giants could almost reach the level of 7 Tao realm of Saint Immortal. With the help of the force of the world of Tranquility Emperor's mansion, they could even fight with 9 Tao realm of Saint Immortal. Tranquility Emperor had been famous in this immortal realm for many years. His strength was really powerful. Su Fang, give me your life. The 7 golden giants roared as if they came from ancient times and rushed towards Su Fang at the same time. Whoosh, a figure dashed out. It was not Su Fang, but the immortal devil monster. Boom. The immortal devil monster's weird and horrible momentum collided with one of the golden giants and smashed it into pieces. However, the immortal devil monster just shook its body and took a step forward. Boom, 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 boom. The immortal devil monster punched 3 times in a row and killed a golden giant with each punch. It was invincible and unstoppable. Tranquility Emperor, who was famous in this world, was completely suppressed by the immortal realm's Divine Secret Life Shortening Tyrant Body. 8 Tao realm of Saint Immortal Tranquility Emperor was shocked. He thought that even if he couldn't kill Su Fang with his towering tyrant body, he would at least be able to hold back the 3 venerable lords under Su Fang's command. At that time, the undead king would be able to take control of the situation. He didn't expect the immortal devil monster to have the terrifying strength of an 8 Tao realm of Saint Immortal. Back in the Star Palace, Tranquility Emperor's true body of the Overlord had fought with the immortal devil monster. How powerful was he at that time? At most, he was at the 2-Dao realm of Saint Immortal. Only 200 years had passed and he had reached the 8-Dao realm of Saint Immortal. Even a virtual immortal couldn't improve so fast. Monster. Not only Su Fang, but the peerless expert who looked like Su Fang was also a monster. Everyone had the same thought, including Dugu Mujian and Withered Immortal. Swoosh. 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 Tranquility Emperor hurriedly took back the remaining 4 golden giant. The defeat made him even worse. He was even less than half of his peak power. Tranquility Emperor looked at Su Fang and shouted angrily, "Su Fang, you didn't keep your words. Fight me alone if you have the guts. Why do I have to do it myself when there are experts under my command?" Tranquility Emperor is actually an idiot. I didn't expect that. Whoosh! Tranquility Emperor came to the sky-hiding nether coffin and stood beside Wang Yuzhen. Su Fang, in terms of strength, this emperor is indeed far inferior to you. But do you think I can't do anything to you? Don't forget that your senior sister is in my hands. If you don't want her to die, you'd better destroy your cultivation and let me deal with you. Tranquility Emperor laughed ferociously. Su Fang, don't worry about my life, Wang Yuzhen shouted anxiously. But Tranquility Emperor used a Taoist seal to shackle her, and she couldn't say a word. You want me to destroy my own cultivation? If I do that, not only will I fail to save my senior sister apprentice, but I will also lose my own life. Tranquility Emperor, are you an idiot or do you think I'm an idiot? Su Fang remained unmoved and sneered at him. Looking at the cultivators and common people of Tranquility Emperor's mansion, Su Fang said coldly, "Do you see? This is the supreme Tranquility Emperor in your heart. You've never seen such a despicable person threatening me with a woman, have you? Tranquility Emperor is so powerful that he doesn't need to care about such trifles. Compared with a brutal and evil cultivator like you, Tranquility Emperor is nothing." Most of them felt ashamed, but some defended Tranquility Emperor. That's right. I don't need to care about such trifles. Su Fang, it seems that you want to see your senior sister die in my hands? Tranquility Emperor said viciously. You can't hurt her as long as I'm here. Really? Then I'll have a try. Tranquility Emperor activated a stream of qi and covered Wang Yuzhen. Wang Yuzhen was only at the mysterious immortal realm. How powerful was Tranquility Emperor? With just a thought, he could kill Wang Yuzhen. Wang Yuzhen closed her eyes in despair. I've told you. You can't hurt her. As soon as his voice fell. I control the destiny. If I'm destroyed, everything will be broken. Su Fang executed the life-shortening technique again. An invisible force of the heavenly Tao suddenly rose from his body, stirring up an ethereal airwave. The life-shortening skill cut off everything related to Su Fang's destiny and made Su Fang hide. All of a sudden, Su Fang disappeared from everyone's sight. Not only did his body disappear, but also his breath, genuine qi, primordial spirit and everything related to him disappeared. No one could see or sense his Su Fang. Not only those cultivators of Tranquility Emperor's mansion, but also Tranquility Emperor and the Undead King. In a split second, Su Fang had arrived in front of the sky-hiding nether coffin. Kill! Tranquility Emperor reacted quickly. After being stunned for a second, he was about to activate his qi to kill Wang Yuzhen. However, right at this moment, there seemed to be an invisible hand grabbing at his body, his destiny and the space around him. Puff! Tranquility Emperor spat out a mouthful of blood. He was shackled by an invisible force that he couldn't resist at all. Even the Undead King couldn't move at all. Destiny controlled the way of heaven. If I want something, the way of heaven must have it. It turned out that Su Fang activated the life-shortening skill again. He didn't want to hide his own destiny. Instead, he wanted to seize others' destinies by force. He wanted to seize what he got from others' destinies. Su Fang flashed past the sky-hiding nether coffin and held Wang Yuzhen's waist. He brushed past the undead king and tranquility emperor and flew away. =our download address. Mobile reading, bibliography. Chapter 1399. He had deceived countless people's eyes and senses and saved Wang Yuzhen right under the noses of two peerless powerful warriors. What kind of supreme skill was that? In a split second, all eyes were fixed on Su Fang. Everyone's eyes were filled with awe. In everyone's eyes, Su Fang had transformed into a godlike existence, powerful and incomparably mysterious. Tranquility Emperor was so shocked that he turned into a wooden statue. The dead king was full of murderous intent. This man cannot be left alive. Once he grows up, not only will I die without a burial place, but also, he may really defy the heavens. Su Fang had used the life-shortening skill to save Wang Yuzhen. But he also suffered a great loss. His black hair was covered with a layer of gray. He looked like he had aged 30 years. Luckily, he had 35 young meridians and reached the 8 realms of world immortal. The life force he consumed this time was still bearable. Su Fang. Wang Yuzhen could not help but burst into tears. She cried and laughed at the same time. Other than marrying you, what else can I do to repay you? Suddenly Wang Yuzhen hugged Su Fang and kissed Su Fang's face. She said with a grin, I will pay you some interest first. What? Su Fang was stunned. You'd better think of more ways to make more money for me. Su Fang was annoyed that a woman took the initiative to flirt with him. He directly put Wang Yuzhen into the Zhenlong world. Looking at the dead king, Su Fang said in a cold tone, Dead king, I know you have set a trap for me. Show me all you have. It seems that I have to use my last resort. The dead king's gloomy voice filled the entire emperor's land with an eerie and creepy atmosphere. The next moment, the dead king made a palm print and landed on the sky-hiding nether coffin. A flow of qi of death spread out and contaminated the origin of Tranquility Emperor's mansion. In an instant, the stars that were condensed by the origin became lifeless. Even their brilliant light was covered by the qi of death. Boom! An evil and deathly aura swept out in all directions. Cooperating with the power of the world and the evil power of the evil yang powder, it instantly covered the sovereign land, Emperor Ning's mansion, and the 12 empires. The vast territory of Emperor Ning's mansion immediately turned into a huge tomb, full of gloomy and lifeless air. With the sky-hiding dark coffin as the formation core, I created this vast spirit-devouring sky-great formation with the help of the world origin of Emperor Ning's mansion and the power of the evil sun. Su Fang, let's see how you can defy the natural order this time. The undead king laughed out loud. His evil voice reverberated between heaven and earth like the arrival of the god of death. The cultivators and common people in Emperor Ning's mansion fell into a great panic. However, when they saw their supreme Emperor Ning standing still, they calmed down a little. Su Fang raised his eyebrows. Spirit-devouring heaven-extinguishing formation? A dignified voice came from the blood jade in Luo's body. Spirit-devouring heaven-extinguishing formation was the #1 formation in the ancient times. It was extremely evil and notorious. No one knows how many creatures it had devoured and even destroyed many immortal realms. Because this formation was so evil, it would be attacked by the orthodox cultivators as soon as it appeared. Later, it gradually disappeared. I didn't expect that the undead king could create such an evil formation. Su Fang gasped. Is it so powerful? It's more than powerful. The spirit-devouring heaven-extinguishing formation was created by the sky-hiding dark coffin, a peerless Taoist instrument, as the formation core and the power of the 3 evil suns in the sky. Compared with the formations created by those evil cultivators in the ancient times, the spirit-devouring heaven-extinguishing formation is much more powerful. Not only the cultivators and common people with the original aura of Emperor Ning's mansion, but also all the creatures born in Emperor Ning's mansion will be controlled by the formation. Su Fang was shocked. What an evil and powerful spirit-devouring heaven-extinguishing formation! What a crazy Emperor Ning! Last time, in order to kill Su Fang, Emperor Ning asked the undead king to devour everything in the three empires at the cost of the three empires. This time, he didn't hesitate to sacrifice the Emperor Ning's mansion and the rest of the Jiufang Empire. There were hundreds of millions of cultivators, common people, and all kinds of creatures. Once the formation was activated, the whole Emperor Ning's mansion would be turned into a wasteland. Such a deranged person was simply infuriating. Emperor Ning, you sent the undead king to devour the three empires last time. Are you going to destroy the whole Emperor Ning's mansion this time? Su Fang shouted in anger. Emperor Ning said indifferently, I've been cultivating for tens of millions of years and have gone through countless difficulties. How can I die? As long as I'm alive, I don't mind destroying the whole Emperor Ning's mansion. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself. Su Fang. If you hadn't forced me into a corner, I wouldn't have used such means. The one who devoured the three empires is the man beside Emperor Ning. He's a resurrected immortal. It wasn't Emperor Su who devoured the three empires last time. It was this resurrected immortal. Emperor Ning wants the whole Emperor Ning's mansion to be destroyed by that evil resurrected immortal. It's impossible. How could Emperor Ning do such a thing? Emperor Ning, how could you do that? Knowing the truth, the whole Emperor Ning's mansion was in a panic. The flame of anger and desperation was burning fiercely. Kill that evil resurrected immortal equals N_R exclamation point. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Thousands of cultivators of the Emperor Ning's mansion, including many of his clansmen, rushed to the undead king angrily. The undead king smiled evilly and launched a Taoist seal. Whoosh, whoosh. A human-shaped shadow rose from the heads of the cultivators of Emperor Tranquility's mansion, which were condensed from their souls and life auras. The undead king activated the spirit-devouring sky array and forcibly extracted them from their bodies. Although the cultivators had lost their souls and life force, they did not die. Instead, they became walking corpses incapable of flying. Like dumplings, they fell to the ground. Such a horrible method frightened all the cultivators of the Emperor Tranquility's mansion. None of them dared to approach the undead emperor. Most of the practitioners whose souls and auras of life were stripped were clansmen of Tranquility Emperor. Some of them were even sons of Tranquility Emperor. However, Tranquility Emperor looked indifferent, as if he was watching something normal. The most ruthless ones were the imperial family. Tranquility Emperor cultivated the tyrannical emperor soaring the sky technique and aimed to dominate the macro world. He was indifferent to family. Except for Crown Prince Ziwei, who was trained as his successor, in his eyes, his family members and even his children were no different from ants. Kill him! The undead king shouted coldly, and thousands of human-shaped phantoms rushed toward Su Fang. Buzz, the power of the full circle swept over. Although it was invisible to the naked eye, Su Fang could sense that there were invisible threads on top of the phantoms' heads, which were connected to the sky-shrouding nether coffin. That was because the cultivators of the Emperor Tranquility's mansion had the original aura of the Emperor Tranquility's mansion. They were connected to the world's origin by force and fate. At this moment they were like puppets. The undead king used these forces and fate threads to control them. Withered space. Old immortal Withered Rong, who was beside Su Fang, immediately used his divine ability to activate his spatial divine might to create a space formed from the power of decay and the power of the world. Those phantoms were condensed by the cultivator's life force and soul. Except for primordial spirit attacks, no other magic could destroy them. However, Withered Immortal's withered force could easily kill them. Puff puff puff, as soon as the phantoms touched the withered force, their life force quickly withered and they collapsed. They turned into a breath of death and drifted in the space. Withered Immortal, you really live up to your reputation. Ha ha! There are thousands of cultivators and countless creatures in the territory of the Emperor Tranquility's mansion. Let's see how many you can kill." The undead king laughed wildly. He waved his hand, and the souls and life force of thousands of cultivators were stripped. They turned into dense phantoms and rushed toward Su Fong like a tide. Old immortal Ku Rong frowned after using his divine ability to annihilate the group of phantoms. He felt his scalp go numb as he said, "Su Fong, hurry up and find a way to escape. There's no end to these cultivators, and if you kill too much, your Dao heart will be affected. You might even fall into the demonic Dao or the evil Dao because of this." "Escape? You want to escape from my spirit-devouring sky-extinguishing formation? Stop dreaming. N_1. The undead king said gloomily. "Su Fong, you have two choices now. First, kill all the cultivators and people in the Emperor Tranquility's mansion. In this way, you will lose your Dao heart and become a mad demon who only knows how to kill. The second choice is to submit to me. Not only will I give you the method of immortality, but I will also help you reach the peak of the macro world. When the resurrected cultivators become the master of the macro world, you will become a peerless figure in the macro world. The heavens will die and the world will be destroyed. No one can escape this fate. Su Fong, it shouldn't be difficult to choose, right?" The undead king looked at Su Fong with a complacent look. Su Fong was in a difficult situation. Kill. No matter how cruel and merciless a person was, it would be difficult for him to kill in such a way. Not to mention that if he killed too much, he would become a mad demon who only knew how to kill. Not kill? It was impossible to submit to the undead king. Law's faint voice came from the blood jade in his body. "Su Fong, don't hesitate anymore. Hurry up and find a way out of the spirit-devouring sky array. You have no other choice." Although the spirit-devouring sky array was powerful, Su Fong had supreme divine abilities, peerless Dao artifacts, and a peerless Dao artifact like the Hunyuan sacred mirror. It was not difficult for him to escape. However, seeing the people in the Emperor Tranquility's mansion facing a catastrophe, even if Su Fong's Dao heart was as strong as iron, how could he bear it? Old immortal Kurong's hands were weak from killing and he anxiously urged, "Su Fong, go." After a moment of silence, "Go." Su Fong gritted his teeth and activated the power of the thunder punishment. Suddenly, there was a burst of thunder divine power. Boom! The thunder divine power that contained the will of the heavenly Tao's thunder punishment swept out. When the Black Hawk Demon Emperor was transcending the tribulation, he had devoured a large amount of the power of the thunder punishment, so Su Fong's thunder punishment true body had improved a lot. The thunder divine power had become more shocking, and the will of the heavenly Tao contained in it had also increased, making Su Fong look like a thunder god. The laws of death that enveloped the spirit-devouring heavenly exterminating formation shattered wherever the lightning elemental divine might reached. The phantoms formed by the life aura and souls of the cultivators that the undead monarch had activated also dissipated into wisps of death aura. Su Fong activated the fire cloud wings, drawing a fire mark in the air, and rushed to the sky. The immortal fiend monster, Dugumujian, and old immortal Kurong followed closely behind Su Fong, releasing a shocking aura at the same time. Want to leave? It's not that easy. The undead king sneered and struck a handprint into the sky-shrouding nether coffin. In an instant, the spirit-devouring sky array was completely activated by the undead king. In the Emperor's land, the souls and life aura of tens of millions of cultivators and people left their bodies and condensed into human figures, converging into a vast sea and enveloping Su Fong and his three peerless experts. _our download address. Mobile reading, bibliographic review. Chapter 1400. Not only the cultivators and the common people, but also the Emperor's land. Within the territory of Emperor Tranquility's mansion, the spiritual chi contained in all living creatures, birds, beasts, forests, plants, even mountains and rivers, as well as the power of the whole world, were all controlled by the formation and formed into a boundless ocean, which rushed toward Su Fang. At this moment, Su Fang was fighting with the shadows formed by the countless living creatures, forests, and grasses in the Emperor Ning's mansion. It was equivalent to fighting against the entire Emperor Ning's mansion. Either he could kill all the living creatures in the Emperor Ning's mansion, or he could be swallowed by the boundless ocean. That was the choice that the undead king gave Su Fang. In less than 10 breaths, Dugumujian and Withered Immortal were tired of killing. They couldn't bear it and trembled all over. Their Taoist hearts were on the verge of collapse. Even the cold and emotionless immortal fiend god monster couldn't bear to see this happen. What they were facing wasn't an enemy, nor was it an evil spirit. It was a living being. Every time they killed a shadow, they killed a life. No matter how ruthless and cruel they were, even those cultivators who cultivated the great Tao of slaughter, they would be tired of killing and their Taoist hearts would collapse. Puff, 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 puff. Su Fang suddenly struck out runes created by the life-shortening technique, which broke at the same time. The power of the life-shortening technique exploded in the surroundings, hiding the aura of Su Fang and his 3 subordinates. The spirit-devouring, heaven-extinguishing formation lost its target. The shadows formed by the aura of life immediately stopped attacking and stayed in place blankly. However, Su Fang and his subordinates didn't dare to act rashly. The world origin of the entire Emperor Ning's mansion was under the control of the undead king. They would be exposed to the attack of the formation if they activated their magic. Su Fang, what should we do? Dugumujian transmitted his voice to Su Fang. Law also urged in the blood jade in his body. Su Fang, you can't have the slightest bit of mercy at this time. Hurry up and activate your peerless artifact, kill a bloody path, so that you can escape. Su Fang replied, if I activate the Xianming Thunder Scroll or even the Origin Sacred Mirror, it'll be easy for me to break the formation and leave. However, billions of cultivators, civilians, and countless living beings will be devoured by the undead lords. Luo Ran said indifferently, if you want to blame someone, you can only blame the heavenly Tao for being heartless and treating all living things as ants. What does that have to do with you? The heavenly Tao is heartless. Su Fang's eyes were filled with confusion. Suddenly Su Fang looked at the undead king. His eyes were no longer filled with confusion. Instead, they were filled with determination. Law exploded in the blood jade in his body. Su Fang, what are you doing? Don't you know that at this critical moment, a woman's benevolence will cost you your life? Luo, I'm sorry, but I can't listen to you this time. Although I know what the consequences will be, there are some things that people have to do even though they know they can't. The heavenly Tao is heartless, but I can't ignore thousands of lives. This goes against my Tao heart. You can call me stupid or benevolent, but I admit it. I don't want anything else, I just want to be open-minded. Since the heavenly Tao is heartless, then I, Su Fang, will replace the heavenly Tao to protect all living things and eradicate the undead lord and tranquility emperor. The expression on Su Fang's face became incomparably firm. Alas, Law sighed and fell silent. Go back, kill the undead lord, and save the people in Tranquility Emperor's mansion. Su Fang said decisively, turned around and rushed to the ground. Kill! The immortal fiend monster said nothing, just like Su Fang's shadow. Good, good, good. That's what a real man should do. Su Fang, if I don't die this time, I, Dugumujian, will follow you from now on. Dugumujian laughed loudly, followed by Su Fang's body, bursting with monstrous sword intent. I didn't expect my master to be a fool and also a lunatic. I, Withered Glory Old Immortal, have been cautious all my life. I've never gone crazy, isn't it a pity? I might as well do something stupid this time, go crazy this time. Ha ha. I'm coming. Withered Glory Old Immortal smiled bitterly at first, then burst into a hearty laughter, and rushed to the sovereign earth below. You didn't take the path of survival, but came back to throw away your life. Su Fang, you really surprised me, hee hee. The undead lord was not surprised at all. Then, he was overjoyed. He activated the sky-shrouding nether coffin, controlling countless phantoms, and swept towards Su Fang. Su Fang's eyes shot out a divine light of fate, locking on to the sky-shrouding nether coffin. Fate is the creation, controlling the heavenly secret. If I'm destroyed, everything will be broken. The law of fate, cut off the connection between the sky-shrouding nether coffin and the world's origin. He activated the heavenly secret life shrinking technique and chanted the essence of the great Tao with his primordial spirit. Su Fang's hair turned white at a speed visible to the naked eye, and then it turned white. His face changed from a man in his 40s to an old man in his 70s or 80s in a split second. This time, Su Fang activated the heavenly secret life shrinking technique to deal with the sky-shrouding nether coffin, a peerless Taoist artifact at the same level as the Xianming Thunder Seal. Moreover, he had already consumed a lot of his vitality by activating the heavenly secret life shrinking technique. Using it again consumed more than half of his vitality. Chi, 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 chi. Above the sky-shrouding nether coffin, the threads that controlled the souls and vitality of the cultivators, civilians, and living beings of Emperor Ning's mansion were burned and incinerated by the ethereal Taoist scriptures. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The vitality and souls that were forcibly stripped from their bodies by the formation suddenly got rid of the control and returned to their bodies like ebbing tide. Although the souls and vitality of countless cultivators and civilians had been stripped, their consciousness was still clear. They had just walked on the edge of death, and each and every one of them felt like they had just had a nightmare. It was Emperor Su who saved us. The Supreme Emperor Ning, whom we revered, betrayed us to the resurrected immortal, but the evil Emperor Su saved us. How did he become like this? In order to save us, he used some kind of forbidden technique and was seriously injured. Countless cultivators and civilians of Emperor Ning's mansion were lucky enough to escape from the disaster. They felt lucky and ashamed of Su Fang, but at the same time, they were also very grateful. Su Fang, you didn't hesitate to consume your precious vitality and use the forbidden technique for these people of Emperor Ning's mansion who have nothing to do with you. You are really stupid. The only thing you can threaten me with is the Xianming Thunder Seal. Now that you have become like this, let's see how you can activate the Xianming Thunder Seal. Go to hell. The dead king sneered and activated the sky-shrouding nether coffin. The lid of the sky-shrouding nether coffin slid open, and a gust of monstrous death chi swept out like a flood, about to devour Su Fang. You are the one who will die. Su Fang turned his palm and the Hunyuan sacred mirror appeared in his hand. Divine light burst out from his eyes and locked on the sky-shrouding nether coffin. He injected the 9-yang genuine chi into the mirror. The purple chi Dharma spirit was also activated by Su Fang, bursting out a divine power to control the magic treasure. Swoosh, swoosh. A ray of red light like the scorching sun broke out of the mirror. The divine power of the sky-shrouding nether coffin was immediately shattered and swept away by the red light. The sky-shrouding nether coffin, which was almost a divine artifact like the Xianming Thunder Seal, was so fragile in front of the mirror. Burn. The red light fell on the sky-shrouding nether coffin and the galaxy formed by the origin of the world, and a flame gushed out. Swoosh, swoosh. 9 yang genuine fire. Su Fang had 35 yang meridians and the purple chi Dharma spirit was almost complete. At this time, the Hunyuan sacred mirror finally changed. Once the 9 yang genuine fire started to burn, it was not like a stream as before. Instead, it became several times fiercer and looked like a raging flame. The deathly aura, formations, and seals that shrouded the galaxy were incinerated. Even the sky-shrouding dark coffin was ablaze, and immortal runes gushed out. Such a peerless Taoist treasure was about to melt in the Nine Suns' true fire. What kind of Taoist instrument is that? Impossible. How could it be? The King of Death felt the horrifying divine power in the red light. Even when he was at the peak of the macro world, he could be killed easily. Then he felt the spiritual connection between him and the sky-shrouding nether coffin was cut off instantly. It meant that this peerless Taoist instrument, which he regarded as his life, was out of his control and no longer belonged to him. This is Su Fang's real strength. This man is invincible. He reversed the situation again. There is no place for me in the Emperor Ning's mansion. Su Fang, I'll let you win again this time. I still have a chance to make a comeback. The extremely cunning Emperor Ning saw that the situation was not good and quietly slipped to the ground. Su Fang, how dare you steal my Taoist instrument? I'll kill you! The King of Death roared and pounced on Su Fang. If he killed Su Fang, he would not be able to take the sky-shrouding nether coffin away. Unexpectedly, the immortal devil monster, Dugumujian, and withered Rong Immortal burst out their shocking aura at the same time and stopped the King of Death. Boom! 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 The King of Death's strength had dropped from the peak of the Nine Dao Saint realm to the ordinary Nine Dao Saint realm. But he was still very powerful. At this moment, he desperately activated his Death Divine ability and burst out his aura to push the three peerless powerhouses back. In the split second when the King of Death was stopped, Su Fang had already activated the treasure mirror and swallowed the sky-shrouding nether coffin into the treasure mirror's space. No. The sky-shrouding nether coffin is mine. The sky-shrouding nether coffin was the King of Death's lifeblood. How could he let it be snatched away by someone else? The King of Death seemed to have gone mad. He burst out with a shocking amount of death chi. Like a death god, he instantly traversed a distance of 10,000 feet and arrived in front of Su Fang. Puff, puff, puff. The immortal devil monster released the yin-yang immortal devil scissors. Dugumujian also burst out with a destructive sword chi. Withered Rong Immortal shot out a halo formed by the power of destruction. They hit the King of Death's body one after another. The King of Death was seriously injured by the continuous attacks, but he seemed to feel nothing and reached out to grab Su Fang without caring about anything. Go to hell! Su Fang raised the corner of his mouth and revealed a cruel smile. He injected 9 yang true chi into the treasure mirror again. A red light shot out from the treasure mirror and landed on the King of Death's body. Chi! 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 The red light spread to the King of Death's body and burned him. The King of Death, a Nine Dao Saint realm powerhouse, was instantly burned to ashes by the treasure mirror's divine power. Despicable, truly despicable. Even if the undead king was at his peak, he could only be suppressed by the divine aura of an immemorial saint. His current strength was a far cry from what it used to be. He let out a series of blood-curdling screams as his death chi burst out. However, any struggle was futile. Under the red light released by the mirror, he appeared weak and powerless. Layers of filth were refined by the treasure mirror in the King of Death's body. The stench was overwhelming. Seeing the King of Death screaming in pain in the red light, he had completely lost his previous brutality and evil. He was like a weak chicken struggling under a kitchen knife. Dugumujian and withered Rong Immortal were shocked. King of Death, you have two choices now. You can either be refined into a pile of ashes by my peerless Dharma treasure or submit to me. Su Fang said majestically. The undead king was still incomparably fierce. You want this king to submit to you? Don't even think about it. Just you wait. As long as this king escapes, I will refine you into a refined corpse and let your soul sink into death forever. Download address. Mobile reading. Bibliographic review.